we don't have a exciting show like we had last week with Victory Monday. We got a lot to talk about this Washington football team and some of the fanfare that's going on, not in a good way. There's a lot of negative stuff out there about the team. Even it was negative stuff out there last week after they won. So we're going to talk about that in the second hour of the show. We're going to have a fantasy football segment also talk about some of the fantasy football things going on. I actually lost my game by 1 point yesterday. My defense got me zero. My tight end got me 1.8, and yeah, it was just an ugly loss to lose by 1 point and still have an underachieving squad. It's just frustrating. We're going to talk about that in the second hour, along with some NHL recap of the conference finals and the start of the Stanley Cup finals. And I believe there's a live game tonight that we'll be giving some updates in the Stanley Cup finals also. But that's not before we cover the Nats, which will be starting shortly. And we'll give our NBA roundtable the floor so they can break down we'll finish and recap the second round of the playoffs and start breaking down the conference finals in each of the conferences that just started last week. I hope everyone had a good day. Make sure you go check out sportsothp.com for all the episodes, links, articles, YouTube channels, apparel line, rocking the Sports OTH apparel as usual. Robbie got the District of Champions pillow behind him, you know. So make sure you go check out the website, cop some gear, help support the movement. Robbie G, how you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing well. It's going to be an interesting night. We've got a ton of stuff to cover, and but it should be a good one for sure. A couple of just breaking news things we'll talk about off the top. It's not breaking news because it happened last week on a Tuesday. You got to love when breaking news happens the day after a podcast, especially then 6 days later. It's not breaking anymore, but I'm sure people have heard by now that Peter Laviolette will be the next coach of the Washington Capitals. That's really exciting. It's somebody that I've been pushing for hard this entire time. I mean, since we've talked about it, he's been my number one guy. So I'm happy that they picked him. It's a guy I wanted from before Trotz's time. When they picked Trotz, I actually wanted him, and so it'll be interesting to see if he can somehow get us a Stanley Cup as well. I think he is a great coach. Has some of the best numbers out of any U.S. born coach in history. His record is 637, 425, 25, and 123. So he had some ties. That's how long he's been coaching. He still has ties on his record. But yeah, he's second in wins among U.S. born coaches and has led 11 different teams to postseason appearances. And he's gone to the Cup in three different teams. He won with Carolina, and he lost with Philadelphia and Nashville in 2017. And so, yeah, it's exciting news. We'll talk about that more during our hockey talk. Tonight's show is going to be in different segments. We're going to talk one other big news and note in a second, but then we're going to talk about the Nats. We're going to have the NBA playoffs. We're going to have a whole roundtable for that. And then we've got some football talk, including some fantasy football. Then we'll end the show live looking in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The finals are happening live. We'll recap what happened so far in the series, how we got here, but also take a look at some of these things, including we'll talk more about the coach and his other piece of news, which is John Carlson did not win the Norris Trophy. I know some people are out there in arms already saying that he got robbed, but I think we'll talk about a little later how I, in fact, think he played himself out of it in the second half of the season. Sadly, I think it's still his best season to date. That's not the Cup year, but individual accolades is probably his best year. But I still think there could have been more in the second half when it mattered. And there's some injuries and some issues that came up, but the other player that we'll talk about that won it, I think, deserved it. Yossi. So Roman Josi, I'm sorry. So he's been great for the Predators. So so that's the big news is John Carlson's not going to be the Norris Trophy. I know that Johnny for Norris has been sort of the trending topic for Caps fans this whole season, and that's disappointing. But we got a new coach, and we're bringing back much of the same team. There's also rumors about Ovi's contract being rejected. I want to make sure that everybody understands The team goes low, he goes high, they come somewhere in the middle. This is how negotiations work. We've got a year to work it out. I don't think it'll take the full year. Hopefully it happens before training camp. It doesn't matter if it doesn't. I don't think it's going to be a distraction. But people are like, oh my God, the team didn't want to do 12 million, or he didn't want to do the 9.5 or 10 or whatever. People have to understand this is how contracts work. And this is how negotiations work. I'm not even sure he has an agent yet. I mean, if you remember, Nicholas Backstrom didn't have an agent. He did his own contract. I wonder if maybe he'll have Nicky do his contract. That would be kind of funny, right? Give him that percentage extra for taking the team-friendly deal. We'll see what happens with that. But I just want people to pump the brakes. People were super excited when there was rumors that something had been given to him. They got super negative when things got supposedly rejected, even though none of it's official. So I want people to understand these are a lot of rumors and a lot of things go on in the offseason. When it does happen and he has a contract in hand, or that he's rejected and said, I'll never come back, we'll be the first to tell you. So just stay tuned to our page. But it's definitely not the highs or the lows that some fans kind of take it through. I just want to remind some fans about some of that. But Carol, that's a couple of things that are going on in the sports world. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm over here making sure these live streams going on. I've been having some funny things happening with my live streams lately, with the setup and everything. So I'm just making sure everything up and running on my side. Yeah, the Peter Laviolette hiring, like I said, I wasn't, you know, as gung ho as you guys are getting him on, but if he's here, if he can help the team, get back to that ultimate level and, get the Stanley Cup, because I love to go to another parade because that shit was great. Um, and then with the Ovi contract, like you said, it's negotiations. Um, Hopefully they can get the deal done sooner rather than later, get this thing taken care of, make sure he retires Washington Capital, hopefully with one, two, maybe three Stanley Cups under his belt. And, he can ride off into the sunset and raise his little hockey players up to be great hockey players that start this cycle all over again.
Real quickly, I do want to point out, because somebody said, oh, don't pay him over $10 million. First of all, I think he deserves whatever. I think the value for his contract should be between 10 and $11 million. Shouldn't be as high as 12, shouldn't be as low as 9. But, and some people are like, oh, that's way too much. You could develop a lot of young talent, blah, 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 blah. Face of the franchise, he sells seats, he's still producing, he gets whatever he wants, assuming it's not north of $12 million, right? I mean, 12 would be crazy just because of his age and where it would end. But I understand if he doesn't want to do 10. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking 10 and a half, 11 is where I'm thinking the contract should be. But I'm not surprised he asked for 12, right? I mean, he's consistently been one of the best producers of goals, in the league for the last 10 years, and he deserves to end his career at Washington Capital, even if that means that for a couple of years we might not have prospects, or we're going to be cap crunch, because yes, the cap is kind of locked in for next year, but it will go up again. So I think that we'll be fine over the long term. People are talking about how Crosby took a more cap friendly deal. That's true. It was also a longer deal. So, it's good if he gets injured. It sort of protects him, but it's worse for him on the back end. I don't blame Ovechkin for trying to get the most he wants out of potentially his last contract.
Yeah, I mean, the contract that's expiring now was one of the, richest when he signed it. He's still performing at a high level, still, winning the top goal scorer of the league, tied again this year. And he's playing more complete hockey the older he's gotten, because he isn't the young guy that can just run around the whole night, laying the wood to people, forechecking everything. He plays smarter now. So, I mean, 10, 11 million, why not? He's going to be chasing Gretzky for the all-time goal scoring lead. Team is still going to be in contention because the talent around him. I don't see no reason why not. And so what happened when they didn't pay Trotz? That's all I'm going to say.
I agree 100%. Well, let's, since it's already 15 minutes in to what should have been a 30-minute segment, but the Nats are kind of up and down. I don't know if we need to give them a full 30 this week, but we'll talk about them for as much as you want to. It was a little disappointing up and down. I did catch a couple of games, but I didn't take it quite as seriously. as some, it's been frustrating to say the least, because you definitely see in some games their promise, but in other games they just completely fall apart. And I don't think that I see from them the urgency. Like, I saw more urgency from Miami in this series than I did from the Nationals. I think they kind of already know they're out of it, even with this expanded format. So, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it was a up and down week, 3 and 4. They had two double headers in this week, which is we talked about that last week. Uh, yeah, it is kind of disappointing to talk about, even though they're currently up 2-0 over Philly, bottom of the third, 3-2 pitch will look like is that Soto at the plate? Yeah, it looked like that Soto at the plate, 3-2. And that's up 2-0, no outs in the bottom of the third. We saw this team play like it's played all season, inconsistent up and down. They went 3-4 in the week, went 1-1 versus the Rays, and went 2-3 versus the Marlins. Um, yeah, it just pitching, giving up home runs, and inconsistency from the team overall offensively. Some games they're getting 1 run, some games they're putting up 15. Just haven't had the consistency that we saw at the later part of the season last year. And I just think that injuries played a major role in that, with the pitching, with Strasburg, with Rendon being gone, with Soto being out for a little while with the elbow and the COVID situation. And just, it wasn't the same team from last year. I know myself, I would hope they was at least going to make the playoffs to at least try to defend their title. But unfortunately, things went a separate way. So, we can break down this week real quick. Did we have Brian coming in tonight,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
Ruben?
Yep. We have both of
Hello.
them. Brian and Arun are both
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I was about to say, I knew my baseball buddies was around, not too far away. What's going on, Brian? What's going on, Arun? How y'all doing tonight?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on, Carol.
Hey, man, no problem, man. We're gonna try to break down this week that was. There's only one more week in the national season, so then we can do our postseason, recaps like we do with basketball. We can still follow the baseball season, even though the Nats look like they aren't going to be in the postseason. But as
Looking
I
forward
break,
to that.
you know what, Brian? You just stay. I'm about to mute your mic. It's too early in the segment for you to be cutting up
sorry,
already.
sorry.
Too early in the segment already. Jeez. The Nats went, as I said, 1-1 versus the Rays. Excuse me. First game was a 6-1 loss. Really nothing offensively to talk about in that game. Ryan Yarbrough earned the win. He broke a 15-game losing streak. Unfortunately, it was against the Nats. He went 5 2/3, giving up 5 hits, 1 earned run with 5 strikeouts. Anibal Sanchez took the loss. That puts him at 2-5 on the season. He lasted 4 1/3, giving up 7 hits, 6 earned runs with 4 strikeouts and 1 walk. Nick Anderson earned the save, going 2/3 of an inning, giving up no hits, no runs with 2 strikeouts. The second game of the series, the Nats won that one in extra innings and went 10. Nats ended up winning 4-2. They were powered by 2 home runs, one by uh, uh, Cabrera. I couldn't read my handwriting for a
Garcia.
second. Jeez. It was his seventh for the season, and Luis Garcia hit a 2-run home run in the 10th inning to give the Nats the lead, and Cal McGlowan earned his first save. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits, no earned runs with 3 strikeouts. Daniel Hudson earned the win. Ironically, he blew a save in the bottom of the ninth, giving up I believe it was might have been a home run. I can't remember. I wrote it down, but I can't read my handwriting. That puts him at 2-2. He went an inning, giving a 1 hit, 1 earned run with 2 strikeouts. And Nick Anderson earned the loss. That puts him at 1-1. Gave up 1 hit, 2 runs, one of them earned with 3 strikeouts and no walks. And the Nats were able to get a split against the Rays, who they swept the week before. Room, what did you take away from this series against the Rays besides the inconsistency of this team?
Yeah, the Rays and the Nationals are in like different stages. Like the Rays are already preparing for the postseason. They started these strategy of starting an opener where they bring somebody in just briefly in the first inning, and they were undefeated using the strategy so far this season. They were 4-0 until the game on the 16th, and then Cabrera hit a 2-run homer, and then Brandon Lowe got a solo homer off of Hudson, so he blew another save. But at least in the extra innings, it's good to see Garcia swinging away, and the Rays weren't expecting it on the first pitch, and the first player born in the 2000s in the major leagues came through.
That's my man Luis Garcia. He's going to. That's why I say that when I asked last week about, do you think this is just a 1 year law? Do you think they're going to be like this for a while? I think they're going to bounce back just because of the talent that they had with the full season. Because 60 games just wasn't enough for them to go through the ups and downs. Brian, did you get a chance to check out this series real quick with it being one of your divisional guys?
Yeah, I saw the highlights of both games in this series, and both Anibal Sanchez and Daniel Hudson have been both pretty disappointing this season for the Nats. Another blown save for Hudson in that game. They did still win the game, but you don't want to see that from Hudson. And Sanchez, like you said, his record's been awful. And in the games that I've seen Sanchez, he's mostly been pretty bad. So that's frustrating for the Nats as well. That's a guy who was still reliable for them last season when they won it all. And now here he is struggling again. But you love to see Garcia hitting the home run. He's part of the future, like Garoon said, youngest player in the league, first player born in the 2000s. So you love to see him hit the big home run. And we'll see what McGowan has, too. He pitched later in the Marlins series and didn't pitch very well. But it is good that he got the save. As a Yankee fan, I love that you beat Tampa at least once because we're fighting with them. I mean, we're a little bit behind, but we still have a chance in the division. So anytime Tampa loses, it's good. But, I mean, home field, it's going to be really different this year in the postseason. So we'll see how that goes.
Definitely. It's going to be real different with the COVID situation. Everything is different right now. So you see the finals in hockey starting. You see the bubble with the NBA. So it's going to be interesting to see how things fold out with the MLB. Getting back to the week that was, they had 5 games against the Marlins. First one was a doubleheader, which the Nationals won 5-0 behind Eric Fetty, who actually didn't give up any home runs that game, which I was shocked about because that's one of the things that he does each outing. That puts him at 2-3. He went 6 innings, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs with 6 strikeouts and 2 walks. Six-toe Sanchez. I know that's probably not pronounced right, but that's what it's spelled.
No, it is right. You got it right.
Hey, thanks, Brian. I thought I was just saying it wrong.
He's a stud prospect.
Okay. Well, he's 3-2. He went 4 innings, giving up 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 strikeouts with 2 walks. Luis Garcia went 2 for 3 with the RBI double. Andrew Stevenson went 1 for 3 with a 2-run RBI single. The second game of the doubleheader, unfortunately, didn't turn out as well for the Nats. They were beat down pretty bad, 14-3. Yimi Garcia won the game for the Marlins. He puts them at 3-0. He went 2/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs, 1 strikeout, and 1 walk. Will Crow took the loss for the Nationals and puts him at 0-2. He only lasted 2 1/3 with 4 hits, 6 runs, 3 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Garcia went 3 for 4. Soto went 2 for 3 with the RBI single, and Josh Harrison went 1 for 3 with the RBI single. The next game, was a 7-3 loss. Pablo Lopez took the win for the Marlins, puts him at 5-4. He went 5 1/3, giving up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Patrick Corbin continues his losing streak. That puts him at 2-6. He went 6 innings, giving up 14 hits, 7 earned runs with 7 strikeouts and no walks. He gave him a couple of home runs and some bad times. The Nats gave up 3 innings with the Marlins scored 4 runs in each. That blew this game wide open. The only bright spot for the Nationals, Andrew Stevenson, went 1 for 2 with another 2-run RBI single to still for the Nats to take that loss 7-3. The 4th and 5th game was a doubleheader played yesterday. First game, the Nats took a 2-1 loss. Sandy Alcantara, hope I got that right,
You did.
3-2. Hey, thanks, Brian. I know you
Yep.
know these names.
No problem, man. No problem.
I love having Team Sports OTHP. We always got it on point, baby. He went 6 innings, giving up 5 hits, 1 earned run with 4 strikeouts and 2 walks. Mad Max took the loss. That puts him at 4-4. He went 5 2/3, giving up 5 hits, 2 runs, not earned due to an error, unfortunately. 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Brandon Kitzler got earned the save. He went an inning, giving up 2 hits, no earned runs with a strikeout and a walk. Trey Turner went 1 for 4 with the lone RBI single of the game. And the last game of the doubleheader in the series, the Nats busted out to redeem themselves and beat the Marlins 15-0. Ben Bramer earned the win. That puts him at 1-0. He went 5 innings, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs with 4 strikeouts and 3 walks. Braxton Garrett took the loss. That puts him at 1-1. He went 2 2/3, giving up 5 hits, 5 runs, 4 of those earned, 2 strikeouts and 2 walks. Trey Turner had a solo home run and an RBI single, his 10th home run of the season. Cabrera went 3 for 5 with a 3-run home run and had 4 RBIs. That was his 8th home run of the season. Victor Robles went 1 for 4 with a 2-run home run. That was his 3rd. Michael Taylor went 1 for 4 with a 2-run home run also. That was his 5th. And Kurt Suzuki went 2 for 4 with a solo home run, his 2nd of the season. He had 3 RBI in that game. Brian, what did you take away from this 5-game series against the Marlins that the Nats were able to earn 2 victories out of 5, and that's pretty much been the way the season's been?
Yeah, pretty much more inconsistency. Like you said, that's the way the season's been. The Marlins, I've been following them a little bit because they're an interesting story this year. They're in all likelihood going to make the postseason, which is crazy considering that I believe they have one of, if not the lowest payrolls in all of baseball, and they were pretty much expected to do nothing. And on top of that, they had the whole COVID situation at the start of this season where they missed a whole bunch of games, and they had to make all those games up. So the Marlins are a crazy story this year, and it's crazy that they're going to actually make the postseason. But, yeah, more inconsistency from the Nats. And, I shout out to the 2 constants on this team that have been good all season. And Trey Turner, like you said, another great game. And Cabrera, another great game, too. Those 2 guys have really been the 2 constants all season for the Nats. In a season that's been up and down, they've been the 2 constants. And just one last thing. On Saturday, after the game on Saturday, the Nationals record was 19-31. And if you'll remember correctly, their record last year was 19-31 after the same number of games, and they won the World Series. It's going to be a bit of a different outcome this season, but I thought that was kind of cool.
Hey, Thanks, Brian. I really appreciate you bringing that fun fact to the broadcast.
Sorry.
I know. I actually saw everyone sharing it, and Ben Raby actually had an interesting tidbit because when it was 19-31 the last time, they had a chance to still have a winning record, obviously. But because there's only 60 games, by definition, that 31st loss meant that they were going to have a losing record this season for sure. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, so it's a very different season. It's a shortened season, so we don't make a lot of it. The thing that I'm the most upset about is this is the year where you celebrate your championship, right? So there's been no fans at Nats Park. We haven't been able to celebrate. I missed going to a game with my dad this year. And, it's the first year we haven't seen a game together in probably 10 years. And it's tough because we could have looked out there and been like, oh, cool, there's a pennant there now, got to celebrate, even if we're not there that first game. But now that whole year is gone. And I know at some point we'll get back into Nats Park, but it's not going to have the allure to look at 2019 in the same way, if it's 2021 or 2022,
At least you got to go to a parade. I mean, that was pretty
that's
cool.
true. No, I am happy we got that. I feel really bad for the Mystics who never got their parade. And that kind of sucks. And there's a lot of teams that are going to.
They did have a parade. It was on a smaller scale. But
what happened was they had an event and people could come and celebrate it. But then the parade was going to be right around the start of the next season. Wow. And then obviously they had to go to the bubble format, after it was delayed. And so that just never happened. And I feel bad for the teams that win this year. I'm happy that we have sports. It's been great to watch it, but it's not going to be the same. And in some cases, the Nats championship tour, as they call it, right? Kind of gets a little bit lost in this year. And it's disappointing because we won't have a chance to repeat, obviously, and we won't, ever have that opportunity, at least until we, win it again, hopefully down the line. But it's going to be interesting. It's one of the things I was thinking about. Wow, that's kind of sad that, all the fans that wanted to go see that pennant this year, unfortunately missed out on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, this situation has taken some of the luster off of the championship. But hey, I still watch the replay of the games. I still
have a
I
giant.
still keep it alive, damn it.
I mean, that thing's bigger than me. I don't know if people can tell that, but I'll hang that banner forever. So
I'm not even a Nationals fan, and I still have the fight finish sign that I got at the parade. So I still have that hanging in my room. So I'll have that memory from 2019.
Hey,
sure.
Man, that was a hell of a run, man. You can still enjoy it until the new champion is crowned at the end of the season. So, yeah, it was a good run. But let's get ready to wrap up real quick, like we might be able to get on time into the NBA segment. The upcoming schedule, as we mentioned, they're playing the Phillies right now. They're still up 2-0. It's top of the fourth. Phillies have 2 on with 1 out, 1-1 with the man at the plate now. Sanchez on the mound. They have a 4-game series versus the Phillies. They have the ninth game started at 6:05. They have a doubleheader tomorrow. Starting the first game is at 3:05. The second game is at 6:05. Then the last game of the series is Wednesday, 6:05 start. Then they have the Mets, which is a Thursday and Friday are both 6:05 starts. Saturday is a 7:07 start, and the last game of the season for the Nationals will be a 3:05 start on Sunday versus the Mets to end this unlikely season of defending their title in the playoffs. Sad to say that, but like I said, I'm still gonna be watching the old footage of the championship because it was great.
I can't believe they have 8 games this week. It's so many games. It's crazy. It's.
Yeah, had to get those makeup games in. Double header. That's what I say that I didn't even realize it was 2 double headers last week. That is kind of rough, but I mean, other teams have had to do some of the same things.
Well, at least they had 2 double headers last week, but they also had a day off. This week they have 2 double headers and no days off, so it's even worse. So it's like that's it's gonna be rough for them. But I mean, they're not gonna have much baseball to play after that. So I guess get it in while you can.
Exactly.
And so, but I'm still proud of the team. They still, competed, well with all the injuries and things. And it's just a weird season. Like, who knows what would have happened in a regular season. So I know some people are like down on them or whatever, but it's like, I don't want this to lose shine for, what 2019 was incredible. We can still celebrate that. Even if 2020 was just this odd, weird year, I'm still going to be interested in the baseball playoffs, especially once these, basketball playoffs die down. I'm so interested in the format. So, Brian, real quickly, 8 teams are making it, right?
Yes, from each league.
From each league. And is it 3-game series for all of
them?
Or? Yeah.
The first round is a best of 3. It's all at the higher seeds site. So all 3 games will be at, if you're the 1 seed versus the 8 seed, all 3 games will be at the 1 seed's field. And then after that, it's neutral site the rest of the way.
So all 3 games, so they don't switch. It's
no, there's no traveling or anything. Yep, no traveling.
That's a huge advantage for the higher seeds for sure. Yeah. Interesting. All right, that's good to know. I didn't know how they were doing it. So
yeah.
So we'll break down the last week for the Nats next week, and then after that, baseball talk might shift in time, but we'll definitely not extensively every series, but briefly talk about a bunch of the different series. And we'll talk a little bit about it in the first couple of weeks, but then we'll probably come back to it even more once the NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs die down, and then we can do a little larger segments about it as well. So
sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. All righty. I guess that's it, right? So we've gone over all the games, and there's pretty much all that we can talk about for the Nationals for this week. And Carol, anything else before we switch into a little bit of basketball talk?
I'm about to go ahead and sit back, let y'all talk about some NBA and get ready for football, talk some fantasy football, some NFL, some Washington football team. So I'm about to go ahead and get off camera and let y'all go ahead and rock and roll.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you, Carol, and thank you guys for covering such a great baseball talk. We're going to bring in Tim right now as well. And in a second, we'll bring in another guest. It's a very exciting week to talk about basketball. So I'm happy we have a couple of extra minutes because I definitely think we could use it. We've got a lot of series to break down. I guess I'll let each one of you guys help me break down the East. We're going to get here he is. DC's People's Champ we're going to bring in as well. And he's going to try in some new technology. We're always trying to upgrade the situation. There we go. The man, the myth, the legend, DC's People's Champ. How are you doing?
Trying to figure all this technology shit out, man. This is ridiculous. I gotta have a green screen, all this other stuff, man. I'm too old for this crap, man.
Right.
Anyway,
I can show you how to do it without the green screen. You can do virtual backgrounds. It depends though. You've got a lot of light in your background, so you may need a green screen. So that might make some sense.
I have to have the light on because I'm dark.
Right.
Just saying.
You become just a ghost, right? It's good to have you. We're going to break down the Eastern Conference first, and then we're going to break down the Western Conference, and then talk about some of the upcoming games. It's weird. We actually have a lull today. Today's the one day where there isn't a conference final game. I kind of thought there should have been a Lakers game, but I understand why they're trying to stretch it out a little bit. I think that they were very smart with how they scheduled both the NHL and the NBA around some of the NFL stuff, because I knew that they had to consider things a little differently than they usually would have to. I think the timing actually works out pretty well. It's kind of perfect for tonight's show. But let's talk about the Eastern Conference first. We're going to go around. We're going to start with you, actually, DC's People's Champ. What are your thoughts on this sort of surprising first three games? Maybe I'll actually, before I get your thoughts, I'll just go through the scoring, and then I'll let you give your take on all three games overall. It's been an interesting series, not quite how I thought it would go, but the Celtics I thought would play a little bit better. They lost the first two games to the Heat. They lost on Tuesday and on Thursday, both in close games. The first game they lost 117 to 114, and Miami won the second game 106 to 101. But then Boston did rebound, quote unquote, at Miami, right? Because clearly that matters. They won 117 to 106 in a rebound game that they had to win, because if they went down 0-3, I think they were done for sure. Ken, what are some of your thoughts on the series that you've seen so far?
Well, I have three takeaways from this series so far. The first takeaway is what you just mentioned, that those first two games were close games. From what I saw, they shouldn't have been close. Both times, Boston was really running those dudes, but they let Miami come back on them, and they ended up losing in overtime on Tuesday and then losing in a close game on Thursday that they had in hand. They didn't learn how to put the foot on the neck and crush the windpipe, as Doc Walker once said. They did it this past game. Game 3, they did it. They got out in front and stayed out in front. They went wire to wire. So that's one takeaway. They got to learn that if they get a lead like that, they better put the foot on the windpipe and crush them. Otherwise, they're going to come back. 2, Miami is a complete team. They know the dynamic of team. I can't tell you how many alley-oops I counted them dudes doing in these 3 games. I mean, every time it was some kind of alley, and it was like a no-look alley. Like they knew it was going to be there. That's the epitome of a team. And number 3, why are we not talking about, what is that kid's name? Oh my goodness, his name is escaping me. It's oh my goodness. Hold on, I'm about to check right quick. But his name is something. What is it? Hero.
Yeah,
Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero. We need to be talking about that kid. He is something. He is nice. He balled out these 3 games, especially in game 3, where he had, I think, like 13 or 15 points in one quarter. He's a beast. So those are my 3 takeaways from the East. So far, I'm still sticking with the Heat's going to advance in 6 games. The way this is going, it's still Heat in 6.
Right, Tim. What are some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics could have won all 3 games, especially, they definitely dominated a lot of game 3 and led wire to wire, but they should really be disappointed to not be up at least 2-1. I also think it's big for them to get Hayward back, even though he didn't have a good game statistically. he played a lot of minutes and he sort of acted as a decoy because it's another big scorer that Miami has to worry about. And it's funny that you mentioned Hero because he's a great player. He's one of the best rookies, but he's not even arguably the best rookie on their team. I mean, I think Kendrick Nunn had more all-rookie team votes than he did and played more in the regular season. So they're an insanely deep team. They have Myers Leonard on the bench. He never plays, and he started most of the regular season. Just in the bubble, they played other guys mostly. So Miami, they have they go 12 guys deep. They play insanely hard defense. They never quit. I think it's just Jimmy Butler's one of the leaders of the team, and he plays extremely hard. And I think they follow his lead, and they never feel like they're out of a game. The Miami Heat mantra is you expect to win every single game. And I think Pat Riley is a great executive. They have one of the better coaches. Spoelstra's been there for years. You can never count them out. And I think at this point, you do have to give them the edge. I think this series could go 7, though. And I think it's funny that the NBA did this 3-day break because now I think the West could end in 4 or 5, and then the East is going to take another week. So I think they're going to have a delay no matter what, but they just kind of flip-flopped it. But we'll see.
There were a bunch of games ahead, though, because they're done with 3, and so I understand why they had to try to do it because they didn't know that one's going to go much longer, and I think they were just trying to catch up because they were at one point they looked like they were going to be 2 games behind, and that's going to really screw things up, So I understand why they did that for sure. Arun, what are some of your quick takeaways in this series?
Yeah, I think going in, I thought it was going to be a toss-up series. I also picked the Heat before. But Hayward coming back is a big boost. But I feel like, as Ken said, the Celtics really have trouble closing out opponents. Even the Raptors in the last series, they got up double digits in their loss, and then they ended up losing the game. And I feel like Miami has a little bit more length, especially Kyle Lowry's great, but I don't think he can. It was amazing what he's doing on Tatum, but I think longer guys like Jimmy Butler and Jay Crowder pose more problems. Kemba's really struggled against the zone, and that's Miami's go-to. And in the loss, they went on these 32-10 and 17-7 runs, and even in the game 3, the Heat came storming back, and that game was everyone thought it was over, and it was 4 points with 30 seconds to go all of a sudden, and it was kind of crazy. So Miami, they need to play well, probably more than just the second half. They're a great second half team, but they probably need to put it together in the first half. As Tim said, Hayward is back. Those bench minutes by Ogilvy and Wanamaker, they can be reduced, but it's still Miami. I think they can win. The Celtics, Tatum and Walker really need to get it going. They haven't been playing. They can still win, but I'm all sticking with Miami right now.
Yeah. Brian, what are some of your final thoughts on this series before we switch to the West?
Yeah, the first 2 games in this series were great. Really just exciting basketball. And like you guys have all said, I really thought the Celtics were the better team and really have been the better team in this whole series. And after they lost that game 2, in which they gave up 37 points in the third quarter and just a terrible third quarter performance that really let Miami back into it. After that game, there was a lot of frustration in the Celtics locker room. Marcus Smart was yelling at people. Apparently him and Jaylen Brown had to be separated. And I guess that worked. I don't know. I'm guessing I guess that really sparked something in them for game 3 because they played very well in game 3. They didn't blow a lead or anything. And, like you guys have said, I think these are 2 really deep squads. I think they're very exciting teams. And I think this is a 7-game series in the making. I don't see the Celtics going away at all. I've been very impressed with what Miami's done from top to bottom. Their whole roster is incredible. But I just don't see the Celtics going away. I see this as a 7-game battle. I see this series going the full distance.
Interesting. Well, yeah, it's been fun. I have to say, personally, I'm more intrigued by the West side. I mean, I have always, well, not always, but ever since Kobe, really been a big Lakers fan. And then it was sort of, faded off, obviously, when he retired. But in this year, in his legacy and in his memory, I've sort of gotten over my frustrations with LeBron because I thought he's had a really good season. I think that I think they got it right who the MVP was, with Giannis. But it's he felt like he was snubbed just in the sheer number, like how far back he was. He thought it wasn't such a big disparity. And I think there's some truth to that. I think he quietly had a really good season. Maybe his numbers aren't quite as flashy, but I think he's done a good job trying to bring that Lakers team together. And the Lakers team is clearly, in my mind, the team to beat at this point. I know that Denver gave them a run for their money, and they put their best foot forward, especially in Game 2. But I've just been really impressed with this Lakers team and just their cohesion and being able to come together and have different people step up. And LeBron understands that. I mean, he's not old, but at his age, he's kind of old for just the amount of seasons he's put on his body. He's really put together a great season, and some nights he'll put up the 30 points that you need, but other nights maybe he'll be the assist leader on the team, or maybe he'll pick up the rebounding when there's lacking from other players. But he's really trying to go out there and see whatever that team needs. He's kind of trying to be that glue and more almost like a role player. I mean, he's still a superstar, don't get me wrong, but he's kind of taken that, sense. And it's something that even Jordan really didn't do. I mean, Jordan was always kind of the go-to guy on most of these teams, but he was really – I've been impressed because I didn't think LeBron could be that player. I thought LeBron always kind of had to be the centerpiece. He's always the self-proclaimed king. But it's been really great to see him deferred and have someone else take the game-winning shot, right? Everyone was keen on him at that last moment and said, how could LeBron James not take the game-winning shot, right? Well, AD can score from the three. And everyone's like, it's either going to be AD down low or LeBron with a jump shot, right? And then they really messed their brains up by putting AD out from the three-point line, and credit to him for making that shot. I mean, what a hell of a shot. But what a great finish, and just his trust in his teammates. And he really helped set that play up if you watch it, right? Because they're keying in on him so much. You just can't let that go. And AD, I don't want to say he was open, but he was pretty open, and I think it's all because you can't just not guard LeBron for a game-winning shot, right? He's just a very obvious decoy. And so I've just been really impressed with his play as of late. So I'll let each one of you guys kind of break this down as well. I'll start with you, Brian. What are some of your thoughts on that game too, but in the overall series as well?
Yeah, first off, we didn't get a chance to talk about it because it happened after last week's show, but shout out to Denver for beating the Clippers.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Huge upset. I mean, maybe not a huge upset, but I'm just like totally shocked that the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead. What a choking organization.
None of us had it.
I was gonna say none of us picked the Nuggets.
I tried. I almost did. I was so close. I was like, I should, and I know a couple of us wanted to, but it was like how could they possibly? Doc Rivers isn't going to do it again, right? I mean, it's just, but it happened. So
yeah. And unfortunately, though, I don't think Denver matches up quite as well with the Lakers as the Clippers do. I don't see this being as long of a series as if it was going to be Lakers-Clippers. And I am kind of disappointed that it isn't Lakers-Clippers because I thought we were all heading towards that matchup. We've been looking forward to it all season, and now we don't get it. Instead, we get the Nuggets. And the Nuggets are cool and all, but they're not quite the Lakers-Clippers matchup we all wanted. And it's shown in this series that the Lakers are definitely the better team. I was impressed with Denver yesterday. They were able to fight back into it, especially Jokic. Jokic did a great job down the stretch for the Nuggets. It looked like he had the game-winning bucket, but then, of course, AD with the shot. You can't underestimate. I mean, AD has just been incredible for LeBron this season. You talk about what LeBron's done this season, and you mentioned that he's had to take like a smaller role. Well, it helps when you have got a second top 5 player in the league on your team in AD. That's been a huge benefit for the Lakers and LeBron. But yeah, I don't see this series going much further than 4 or 5 games. I think the Lakers are much better than the Nuggets. I would have preferred if it was Lakers-Clippers just for the better matchup. But yeah, I think the Lakers are clearly the best team standing among the 4 teams that are left in the NBA right now.
Yeah, Arun, that's such a heartbreaking way to lose for the for the Nuggets last night. I just don't know how they recover. Do you think that I think they might get one win here, but do you see this going more than 5, or well, how do you see it?
I think they really need to win in game 3. Otherwise, it's pretty much over, and probably in 4 if they don't win. But I'm not counting out the Denver Nuggets out after, especially again. Like, I think I counted them out in the first round. I'm pretty sure I counted them out in the second round at one point. Like, and the Lakers in this game, I think they outplayed them for most of the game, but I felt like they almost choked away this game too against the Nuggets. They had an 8-point lead with like 2 minutes to go. LeBron has an air ball. He turns it over. Like, if Anthony Davis doesn't hit that 3, where Plumlee gets completely lost in like a pick for no reason. It's the second time actually the Lakers have beaten the Nuggets in the bubble, not in the playoffs, but in the regular season or whatever bubble that Plumlee got lost. It was like a weird substitution because the Lakers didn't call a timeout. They had no timeouts left. They put in Plumlee. He was like half awake. Davis is wide open for a 3. Maybe he gets fouled if Plumlee stays with him. It's a contested 3. It's definitely a harder make, but I don't think we're saying LeBron is the great deferrer if like the Lakers lose this game. But the Lakers, they still can like play LeBron more. They haven't even played LeBron more than 40 minutes in any playoff game this series. They can still take it up to another level, but the Nuggets need to get back to Jamal Murray needs to look like Steph Curry, like he was like against the end of the Clippers series and in the Utah Jazz series, where he's getting like 40 points. He only made 2 of 7 threes. Jokic was bothered by the former Wizards, JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. Like, that's not going to get it done. So maybe it's over soon, but the Nuggets do play well with their backs against the wall. So I hope it's a better series. Otherwise, the Lakers will have a lot of rest time, as you alluded to earlier.
Yeah, for sure. Tim, what are some of your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, I mean, they always say the cliche, sports are a game of inches, and we could definitely have been talking about how terrible the Dallas Cowboys and Lakers are today, and maybe we should have. I mean, both teams barely pulled out a win, very, very close games, but I really want the Nuggets to win game 3. I'm going to root for them hard next game just to make it a series. I also think the whole world wants to see if they could come back from 3-1 yet again. So I think it would be funny if the Nuggets take game 3, the Lakers take game 4, and then game 5 starts out pretty bad for the Lakers, because there's going to be a little bit of doubt in their minds. But this was an odd game overall. The Nuggets played this scrub on their bench, PJ Dozier, a ton. He actually played pretty well and hit a lot of shots, but he missed a lot of important free throws at the end. And you could argue that he shouldn't have been playing those minutes and taking those key free throws in the fourth quarter. But, I can't see the Lakers really needing more than 5 games in this series. I mean, like I said, as a fan, I want it to go longer, but really, like AD's been averaging, I think, 34 through the first 2 games. He's arguably the best teammate that LeBron ever has had, and I think if they win the title and he continues to play like this, he might take that from Kyrie or whoever. And they're going to be like huge favorites for next year too. So, this could be a team that we're going to see a lot of the next few years.
Yeah. DC People's Champ, what are your thoughts?
Just 2 takeaways from this series from the first 2 games that I've seen. One is the AD definitely has balls of steel and just lives for a moment like this, clearly, and he's been waiting for a moment like this. To have that game-winning 3 in game 2, and just the elation from his teammates. He's been waiting for a moment like this for a while, and he finally got it, and it's helping his team to push forward in the playoffs. My second takeaway is, as much as we sit here and we can rag on the Nuggets because they beat 2 weak teams to get to the Clippers, and the Clippers basically choked it away. Let's not sleep on the Nuggets here, people, because these 2 games, They haven't been blowouts. They've been keeping it close. They've been staying in these games. And I'm telling you, the Lakers, as a team as good as they are, this team, the Nuggets, should not be losing in close by close margins. They should be running away from these dudes. I got a feeling the Nuggets, like Tim said, I think the Nuggets will take 3 and push this to 7 games because they're a scrappy bunch and they're showing that the Lakers can't just run away from them, period. So those are my takeaways. Nuggets are not running away. The Lakers are going to have to push them away, something, if they're going to win this in less than 7 games. But I see it going 7 the way this Nuggets team is playing because they see the competition. They're like, look, we know you're the best. Guess what? We don't care. We want it. We want the smoke. Bring it on. There you go.
For sure. Let's talk about the upcoming schedule just real fast, and then I'm going to get your guys' final goodbyes, and then we got a football segment in 5. All right, so on the next game is tomorrow. The Lakers play the Nuggets. Again, the Lakers are up 2-0 in that series. It's to be a 9:00 start. Lakers are right now favored by 6.5 points. On Wednesday, the Celtics play, quote unquote, at the Heat. Boston is favored by 3 to come away with it to tie that series. That's an 8:30 start time again on Wednesday. Thursday, back to Lakers Nuggets at 9. Friday, it's 8:30 Heat Celtics. And then on Saturday, Nuggets play the Lakers at 9. And Sunday, 7:30, a little earlier, Celtics play the Heat. And then next Monday during our show, the Lakers will play the Nuggets if that game is still happening and it isn't over, the series that is. But the time is to be determined. So maybe during our segment, but probably they've been starting at 9. So my guess is we would do a pregame show for that one. And then there would be one more game for each team after that. If it gets that far, it would be Tuesday for the Heat Celtics, and then Wednesday would be a game 7 for the Nuggets Lakers. So next week we'll either recap how the series turned out, or we'll preview potentially a game 6 or a 7 in those series as well. So that'll be fun. I'm going to give each one of you guys one last chance. I'm going to start off with Arun. Thank you again for your baseball and basketball coverage. Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, just one final statistic. The Atlanta Falcons, I don't know how they blew that game. They're the first team in NFL history to score 39 points and have 0 turnovers and lose a game. So shout out to the Falcons.
I don't love it. I just realized it meant the Cowboys win. Whoops.
Oh yeah, boo. It's that's a rough one. So thank you, Arun. I can't believe that the Cowboys won that game, but it happens. All right, Tim, congratulations on the Ravens victory. That was definitely a bright spot. I also want to give a quick little shout out that I got a perfect day in Pick'em this week,
nice.
which was really, really good. So, perfect Sunday. I forgot to do Thursday. So I was over one.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And that was my foil too.
Yeah. And then I thought that was interesting. So congratulations on the Ravens. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, I'm just hoping for some great NBA games, and I hope the Denver-LA series will go, because I guess that would be game 6 next Monday. So let's hope we have that to watch during the show. And the quality has been really strong. So I like the NBA bubble courts. I'm not saying they should do that again next year, but they're already talking about it. Maybe it wouldn't be a horrible idea, but we might have to get used to it. No fans in the bubble.
Yeah, there's talks about certain leagues wanting to maybe have bubble sites that a couple of different teams come through. So like zoning bubbles, and then you play like 8 teams, and then you leave that bubble, and then you go to a different bubble and play a different one, and they all kind of play each other in a round robin kind of format. And so you get all your games against all those teams that you'd have to play in a set period. So those same teams would play each other. It could potentially work.
Yeah, they could make that work with all 30 teams.
So we'll see if hockey or basketball adopts something like that. But we'll look forward to talking to you more about the conference finals tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Brian, final thoughts on anything that you want to give? And thank you again for your baseball and basketball talk.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I just wanted to say get well soon, Saquon Barkley. We're all rooting for you to come back from this ACL tear. Terrible injury. Really affects the Giants, and I'm really bummed by it. But we weren't going to be good anyway this year, so I guess it's kind of a throwaway. But with that being said, let's go Yankees, let's go Giants, let's go Knicks, let's go Rangers. Have a good night.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brian. As always, and DC's People's Champ, let people know all the latest in wrestling news that you can do in 60 seconds. Go.
Well, you can listen to the next podcast this coming Sunday. We'll be talking about everything coming up with Clash of Champions coming up this Sunday, I believe it is. Yes. So we'll be talking about that, as well as myself and Sage on the G1 Climax recall. We're going to be talking about the next 3 nights of G1 Climax. That's going to be coming up next Monday before this show. So make sure you're following No Spots Podcast to see and hear all of that.
Sounds good. Yeah, looking forward to it. Lots of great coverage. He's been watching so much wrestling, so that way you can be caught up on all that. Definitely check out the No Spots podcast. You can check it out on all streaming platforms. Thank you, DC's People's Champ, as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Sounds good. All right. And just like that, at 8 o'clock, we were able to get it, and we'll bring Carol back in here, and we're going to do a switcheroo in a second. I just wanted to know, do you want me to keep my camera on, or are you going to doing the 2 up or the 3 up? I just wanted to.
I'll probably do the 2 up.
Okay.
And if you want to come in, just let me know, and I'll switch to the 3 up.
Sounds good. We'll do. Well, I'll let you get into bringing in our next guest, and I'm going to drop off my video, and you can bring him in and do some fantasy football talk.
All right, no doubt. Appreciate that. Love the NBA roundtable as always. Keep me up to date with the things that's going on. Make sure we get this thing right. Joseph, go ahead and turn your camera. There we go, my brother. There we get busy. Yeah, we got some fantasy football talk coming up. Joseph, go ahead and turn your camera back on, baby. We got some fantasy football coming up. We know the season has just started. As I mentioned earlier, I ended up losing this week by 1 freaking point, and my stars didn't shine. But we got my man Joseph on the line. Met my man over one of my folks' house. He's a diehard fantasy football guy. So I said, why not get us a nice fantasy football segment on here with the season just start. Joseph, how you doing tonight, good sir?
I think his audio is still connecting. He's got to click accept on that when it pops up.
On the thing and make sure your mic is on. I know that Zoom is new. It's new to us too, bruh. You got me, Joseph?
Doesn't seem to be connecting to his audio. Oh, yeah. Is that?
Try it again, Joseph. See if your mic. Make sure your mic is on.
Yeah. There you go.
You got me, Joseph?
Hold on. Let me ask to unmute.
Hey, you gotta love it, baby. Live streaming, live radio.
Yeah, you're still muted, Joseph. You got to click the unmute button. But now it's working at least.
Then click the unmute button so we can hear you. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Okay, how about now?
All right, boom. We got you now. What's going on, Joseph?
First of all, I want to say that I want to thank you all. It's a pleasure and an honor to be a guest on y'all's show today.
Hey, man, appreciate it, bro. Glad to have you on. I've been trying to work fantasy football in. I just haven't had the time. So, everything happened for a reason. We happened to meet. Said, you know your stuff. So I said, hey, you wanted to come onto the podcast? I say, why not? That's what we do here. That's why we got a lovely team. I got a great group around me, and that's what makes our show great, in my opinion, compared to some of these other shows out here. But we got a interesting week 2 matchup. As I mentioned, I'm down. I lost by 1 point this week. What were some of the standout performances week 2 for you, and how did you make out in your fantasy football this week?
Well, I drafted Russell Wilson, and he threw for 5 touchdowns, and it was over 350 yards. So he got me about 50 points. He helped me win my game. So despite having Paris Campbell, he got hurt the second play of the game.
Wow.
So I was short one guy. So I had 5 other guys to help me beat a dominant team that I was a highly favored underdog, and I beat them convincingly. So I won my first 2 games. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I was hoping the same thing. I ended up because I had Dwayne Haskins starting last week, which helped me get the win. He didn't have spectacular numbers, but he didn't have any turnovers. This week I picked up Big Ben right before the game started. I also had Smith Schuster on my squad already. So I'm thinking, okay, if they have a similar game like they had the week before where Smith Schuster had 2 touchdowns, I can double up. He threw 2 touchdowns, but neither one of them to Smith Schuster. I was blown, and he threw an interception, which was -2 points. If he hadn't thrown that, that was the me winning my week of fantasy football where he had an interception. Like I said, my tight ends, I'm still lacking. My defense, Tennessee, who balled out the week before, got me a 0 this week because they gave up 30 points to Jacksonville and Jay Gruden's offense, which I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. But yeah, it was a rough week. I was looking to go 2-0, like I'll be 1-1 with another tough matchup because you saw Christian McCaffrey go down. I know you said you got him on your squad. He's going to be out for the next 3 to 5 weeks, and running back is a position of weakness on my squad. Also, I'm deep at wide receiver, but I'm real flimsy at running back, and he was the only one getting me points the first 2 weeks. So I got to try to work some magic. I already got some waiver wire claims in, but as you would know it, I'm last on the waiver list right now. So who knows when I'm even going to get the players that I'm trying to get. But what other performances stood out to you this week? I didn't get a chance to check the whole wire to see some of the performances after I took my loss.
Well, Dak Prescott, he put up 65 points this week.
Gee, yeah,
They were down by a large margin to the Atlanta Falcons. And I say that the Atlanta Falcons special teams, they should fire the coach because there's no way that you allow Dallas to kick an onside kick and you stand there and look at the ball and you allow them to recover the ball.
That was like from a movie, man. That shit was crazy. I saw the score and I saw how early it was. I was like, okay. I remember Atlanta's track record from the Super Bowls, and I'm like, that really ain't a safe lead with them. They had the Patriots 28-3, and Dallas does have firepower. And unfortunately, we saw them crumble once again and give up a large lead and end up losing the game that they should have won because of inept coaching in one phase or the other. So, Atlanta, boy, I tell you, they just can't get right. They about to be the can't get right league of the team of the league, man. It's rough. But did any running backs have any standout performances? Like I said, I'm looking for some running backs right now. I got Joe Mixon, who ain't really do nothing. I got a couple of waiver wire claims in for a couple of guys that I saw, that should get picked up possibly, maybe, a star in the making, especially due to injury. So, anybody you have your eye on, maybe making some moves on, or trading, making some moves on the waiver wire, trading for?
Well, I would say if I was to make a trade, it would be a trade for Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers because he had a standout performance. He had over 168 yards and about 2 TDs. So he had a very big, huge game. He had a spectacular game. But in my league, I can't trade, so I have to do add and drop. I'm on CBS Sports, so I have to go about it that way. I think a lot of people find it to be more fair because they don't want anybody to be cheating. That's what the commissioner says. So we just go.
You do get those folks, but I never understood that. Why would you, make trades to give up quality players for nothing to help somebody else when you playing for yourself? But yeah, I'm on. We on ESPN, and we got trades and waiver wire. So I've never had any real successful trades. I mostly make my moves on the waiver wire, pick up guys at the right time against the right matchup. I haven't been able to study as closely as possible. So, like I say, I had a couple of hiccups this week, but hopefully get back on track. I'm actually looking at the pregame for the Monday night football game with the Las Vegas Raiders. I got to get used to saying that, man.
Yeah. It does sound funny there.
Yeah, but hey, why not, man? They got hockey in Vegas now. Why not have football too? It's a nice stadium. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this. If you need a defense this week, you might want to look at the San Diego Chargers.
Oh yeah, I might need to make a move if Tennessee let me down.
Yeah. The reason I say that is because they're playing the Carolina Panthers, and they have no McCaffrey.
Oh yeah, no look at. Oh yeah, you might be right. I might need to go pick them up. I think I put in for a waiver claim for somebody else. I might gotta go see if I can get them too. Yeah, they gonna be hurting without him. I
And
think I picked up.
if you need another receiver, Russell Gage for Atlanta, because Julio Jones, he didn't play the whole game on Sunday. He left early first quarter. He only produced 4.4 points, and Russell Gage came in there, and him and the other guy on the corner there, they both lit it up. They put up big, huge numbers.
Man, I'm
So if
deep,
you look,
deep at wide receiver. I'm hurting at running back and tight end. I picked up Greg Olsen and Jimmy Graham. Neither one of them did anything, and they had my tight ends haven't done nothing for me the first 2 weeks. My defense, like I said, Tennessee let me down. I wasn't expecting them to give up that many points to Jacksonville. I was thinking about another standout performance. Like I said, I got at one point it was -2, so I was glad I was able to at least get back to 0. But yeah, this fantasy football season, is going to be a little tricky with no preseason, just like the football season. So it's going to affect the fantasy football. It's going to have some inconsistencies. Now we got injuries in the mix. Like I said, we were talking about Christian McCaffrey. He's out 3 to 5, and that's definitely going to hurt my squad because I'm hurting at running back. But is it
you
any?
can check out Logan Thomas for a tight end too.
Yeah, I did see him on the wire. He kind of let me down yesterday when I was watching the game. We're gonna get into that game in probably a couple of minutes. Gonna start breaking down that unfortunate loss to Arizona yesterday. But is there any matchups you're looking forward to this upcoming week?
Actually, this upcoming week, as far as a big matchup, I'm looking at Big Ben against the Texans secondary.
Okay.
I think that it's a good matchup as far as the receivers against their cornerbacks, because I feel like Big Ben is in for a big day on Sunday. That's one big matchup that I think I like. And another matchup that I think is kind of tough, but I do believe that they still can put up some major points. And I believe that it's the St. Louis Rams playing the Buffalo Bills. I think they have two great defenses, but I think that they'll both put up decent numbers, but not spectacular numbers. But they'll put up enough for you to get the points you need in your league for week 3. You still can start those two quarterbacks. Josh Allen, you can start him. And
Josh been killing it. I think he put up like 41 points this week.
yes, he went off. He went off totally. He went off. That's a good pickup. But I'm gonna give you a sleeper quarterback that you could possibly pull up for Thursday night. Gardner Minshew. He's matched up against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I actually had him for a short stint at the beginning of last season when I was playing. He got me a couple of wins.
Yeah, no one gave him a shot because they felt like when they traded all their players away, they were just throwing away the season. But no, these guys are really playing, and he's spreading the ball out. Because I have DJ Shark in for Jacksonville, and he had 4 receptions, 84 yards. He didn't score, but he still gave me about 16 points.
Yeah, see, I'm not sold on Jay Gruden's offense. That's just my thing. Like I said, it was shocking that they put up 33 points against the Tennessee defense. I wasn't expecting that. That's why I say that's what caught me off guard with Tennessee not getting no points after the performance they had last week. It was just disappointing especially losing by 1 point. My defense got me 0 points at all. Oh,
Yes.
man. But that's how the fantasy football season is, man. Never know.
I can tell you something that you might want to do. He don't have a team yet, but you can pick up Devontae Freeman because he's going to sign with somebody. They're saying on NFL show that he'll be signing with somebody, so you might want to pick him up.
Devontae, with Falcons running back.
Yep, they say stash him because due to the injuries at running back, they're bound to pick him up. Also, Tevin Coleman, he hurt his ankle, but he may be able to play on Sunday. So if you need a running back, you can pick him up because Jerick McKinnon is too small. They're going to use McKinnon just for little passes, dump offs. He's too small, so the bigger back would be Coleman. So you can pick him up this week to start him because they had him last year until he had his injury.
Said Coleman, I think I did put in the waiver claim on McKinnon. You said Coleman. Yeah, I got to make sure I look into that when I get off the air because I think I put in the waiver claim for McKinnon.
See, Coleman has a little question mark by his name because he had got nicked up on Sunday, but they're saying that he'll be in shape to play this week. So they'll just have Coleman and McKinnon playing. But McKinnon would be more of a third down back, and Coleman would be the guy that's pounding the ball. Unlike in the Miami Dolphin backfield, where you have three guys carrying the ball, but Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, they no longer are participating because they have another running back, last name Liard. He's been getting all the carries. So they say on the waiver wire, if you see that guy, you can pick him up. And then there's a backup running back for the San Diego Chargers. His first name is Justin. I can't remember the last name, but they say he's a good pickup as well for this week for the Chargers. And as far as Philip Lindsay's injury, we got to monitor that because when he comes back, he'll be a good backup in Denver. So still waiting to see on his situation.
Yeah, so he went down. Yeah, Tennessee was playing Denver that game when he went down, and that definitely did slow down their running game when he went out because Denver loves having 2-3 different running backs that can do the job. If someone does get hurt, that's the one good thing about Denver. Bear with me. I'm fixing some graphic things on here so we can get into this Washington football team game because had a little glitch that I'm trying to take care of right now. There we go. All right. Let's get into this week 2 matchup with Arizona. Unfortunately, the Washington football team lost this game 30-15. They currently sitting 1-1, still number 1 in the division. Cowboys sit 1-1. Giants and Eagles both 0-2. Talk about the Brandon Sheriff injury. He had an MCL strain, let's say grade 2, which said he's going to be out between 3 to 5 weeks, which is going to definitely hurt the running game, which is still not as good as it needs to be. Before I get into the stats and everything, I gotta talk about the offensive play calling with Scott Turner. It reminded me of Jay Gruden, too much passing. We spoke about it in the pregame that, got to have balance. 3rd and 2, sometimes you need to line up and just run the ball. Being in shotgun on 3rd and 2, trying to outthink the opponent instead of just putting the ball, in the hands of your big running back and ramming it up the middle to get the first down. Sometimes you got to do that to keep the defense honest and to wear them down. And I just don't feel like he's been incorporating that along with some other things, like rolling the pocket. We know how comfortable Haskins is when they roll the pocket to the misdirection. The line goes one way, he bootlegs naked to the other side. finds his wide receiver or tight end sitting there in the flat by itself because the defense is pursuing to where the line is going. We've seen this work. I don't know why he doesn't incorporate it more into his play calling, which will aid in the running game and aid in the passing game because you're giving him extra time to find his targets. You're giving the wide receivers and the receivers time to get into these zones with the guys trying to figure out what's going on in the defense. So it just, simple stuff that I see in the first two games. It's still early. I'm not in panic mode like most fans are. Unhappy even when they win, more unhappy when they lose. It's just, fans are fans. I can't be mad at them. They love their team. They just passionate. Go ahead and go through the numbers. Haskins was 19 for 33 for 233 yards, one touchdown, no interceptions, with an 88.3 passer rating. Really did nothing impressive in the game to, get the team going. Some of his throws were off again, throwing high. We always say that's when his footwork and his mechanics fail him. I actually saw a report that came out of one of the conferences that when he sees something, sometimes he gets happy feet, and that's when he doesn't follow through with his mechanics and have good footwork, and that's when the ball sails on him. So they know what the problem is. They just got to fix it, and they need to fix it soon because it's time for him to start making, more progress and more strides in his development, especially with the talent that they have on this team and the potential this team has, with the defense that this team is lining up. Kyler Murray went 26 for 38 for 286 yards, a touchdown, an interception, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 88.3. Antonio Gibson led the Washington football team. He had 13 carries for 55 yards, a 4.2-yard average, in his first NFL rushing touchdown. Kenyon Drake had 20 carries for 86 yards, with a 4.3-yard average and no touchdowns. Terry McLaurin had a breakout day, catching 10 passes for 126 yards for a 17.9-yard average and a touchdown. And DeAndre Hopkins for Arizona had 9 catches for 68 yards for 8.5-yard average and a touchdown. Arizona just had the Washington football team planned out very well, offensively and defensively. They kept the ball moving. Kyler Murray, that dude is ridiculous. He's elusive. He's fast. He's quick. He's shifty. He has a rocket for an arm, so he can make the throws. He can make people miss. And, they were saying about how small he was. I thought that they would be able to contain him in the pocket and make it hard for him to throw the ball over the big lineman. But he rarely stays in the pocket. He breaks out quick. And when he does get in the pocket, once he feels the pocket breaking down, he's so quick, he just makes moves and get out of danger's way. And you can't get a clean shot on him because he's so small and so shifty. When you go to line up to hit him, he's not there when you try to hit him. It was crazy. Joseph, did you check out any of the Redskins game? Oh, damn it. I almost cleared it before. I still caught myself. Did you see any of the Washington football team game yesterday against Arizona?
I sure did. I watched that game. I saw at the end of the first quarter, the score was 7-0. And Arizona had the ball down in the red zone. And Kyler Murray did a quarterback draw and ran in the end zone and made it 14-0. And the Redskins is just, they're lacking talent right now. And they should have kept Adrian Peterson. If they'd have kept Adrian Peterson, he would have made a bigger difference than Aaron Gibson. Aaron Gibson, he's a rookie, so he's got to go through the tough battles for now. But as far as the season, the Redskins, they're going to have a tough season because their expectations are like going to playoffs, but they want to win games to get better. So I do believe that they'll win some games, and I'll probably give them maybe 7-9 based on the division. I'll say 7-9, and I think maybe next year they'll be even better. That's what I believe.
There's potential there's still going to be growing pains, like Ron Rivera said today. It's going to be growing pains, and this is one of the growing pains games where they didn't do what needed to be done and didn't perform like expected. Robbie, you said you have an opinion on this.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to jump back on. But yeah, I don't think the running back position was the reason they lost, personally. I understand the value that Adrian Peterson brings, but the thing is he gets better the more snaps he gets. And we're trying to see what we got with some of these younger guys. And we need to kind of split time. We need to kind of have a multi-back system until we figure out who's going to be our workhorse. And I just think that I love Adrian Peterson. I think he was a great player for the Washington football team, but it's time to let him go to see what you've got with some of these other people and to try to develop talent and for your future, because this is a rebuilding year in my mind. So you got to rebuild from all the positions and see what you got and see what needs to be changed under this new system. And for me, I don't think the running game was spectacular by any means in that game, but I think Arizona is a really, really good team. I think you would have had to play a nearly perfect game to win that game for them. I don't think it was anything that the Washington football team even did necessarily badly. There was a couple of mistakes that they made, but I think Arizona is going to do big things this year. I really honestly feel that way. I think that they are really strong both defensively and offensively. I think they've got lots of weapons. And, that quarterback is scary with his ability to run. I remember watching him in college, and he was just, he was a beast even then. So I don't know. I'm curious. The first week I thought the Washington football team wasn't as good as some people were saying. And then this week I think that they're not necessarily as bad as some people are saying. And at some point we're going to see what the real team is. And it's going to be interesting to see week to week the progression. And just like I was seeing online, people were hammering our quarterback saying he was missing some throws and we don't have time to develop him. And is he really this coach's guy? Well, he went through training camp. The coach had a bunch of options. This is the guy he thought would give him the best chance. And we got to give him a couple weeks to develop into the quarterback we hope he could be. But, people always already want to throw in the towel and want to switch to a different quarterback or, it's interesting. It's one of those things. It's like I can't get too high or too low with this team. I just think that they're somewhere in the middle.
Man, you got to stay medium with it because this team, like I said, no preseason, new offensive coordinator, second-year quarterback that didn't have that much experience in college. You're going to have growing pains. You're going to have games like this. Like I said, he didn't turn the ball over, but he didn't do anything stellar to win the game. So that comes with getting more experience. And like you said, Arizona has a quality defense that can wreak havoc on the quarterback. They were getting pressure. They had 4 sacks. The Washington football team had 3, and it was just a more type of team beat a team that has talent but hasn't put it together yet, and the offense is still trying to find it. So just to give some more quick stats, more breakdown of this game. First downs, Washington had 19, Arizona had 22. Third down conversion. This was the telling stat. The Washington football team didn't get a third down conversion until, I believe, late third quarter, early.
They didn't get one until after a fourth down conversion.
Yeah, they actually got a fourth down conversion.
Before they got a third down.
They got a third down.
Wow.
They were 4 for 12.
Wow.
Arizona, but remember, Arizona did have the number 1 third down conversion defense in the league, only giving 18% anyway. They went 4 for 12 with 33%, but they didn't get those till late. Arizona was 7 for 17 on third downs. Washington had 117 rush yards. Arizona had 160. I mentioned Kyler Murray had 2 rushing touchdowns. I think he had like maybe 50 or 60 yards rushing. Passing yards, Washington had 199. Arizona had 278. Washington had 316 total. Arizona had 438. Penalties, which was, some of the Washington's problems in the first drive with Arizona. They were driving, but they were bailed out by some penalties. They got some penalties on their own, but Washington bailed them out also on a few times. There was 6 penalties for 42 yards. Arizona actually had more penalties. They had 11 penalties for 97 yards. The time of possession, which is always a telling stat, Washington had 26 minutes and 15 seconds. Arizona had 33 minutes and 45 seconds. So It's about ball control. Turnovers also played a key role, which was one of our keys to victory. Than no turnovers, and you can't give opposing offense more chances, and you can't, offense not show up until the fourth quarter. I think you're going to be able to win games all the time. Joseph, what did you take away from the defensive side of the game? It looked like Arizona just, whatever the Washington football team was trying, they had something forward, especially with, that crafty veteran Larry Fitzgerald in the slot now. He was like finding the perfect spot to sit in, and it made the perfect move to make the guy miss. Just like he knew where the guy was going to be, and he was in the matrix and shit.
Yeah, he did find a lot of good spots, but I think that when the Redskins were in coverage, they had containment, but Kyler Murray would see that they were covered. He would take off and start running. So I think that maybe if the Redskins had a spy something on Kyler Murray, they probably could try to contain him a little bit. But it's kind of hard to stop a guy like that, though, because he's a tremendous athlete. And with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, it just makes them even more better than they were last year. But I must say that, the Redskins, they do have the coach, they do have the quarterback, they do have the wide receiver. I normally call that the big three. So those guys are the ones that's, going to make the team better. So everyone has to grow around them. And on the defensive side, Landon Collins, he's the motivator in the secondary. He's the one got to step up and show leadership to the team. And as far as up in the linebacker area, Kerrigan is like the older guy around it, so he has to kind of get those guys going up in there as far as the defensive end. And Chase Young, he's up and coming, and he will be great. He's starting off, great right now, so he will be great. So they need a few more key components, and I think they will be a better team here, very soon.
No doubt. They definitely got a good foundation, a good core. It's going to take a little time to get it all together. Yeah, Chase Young, he has 2.5 sacks, tied for the lead in the league. The Washington football team leading the league with sacks with 11. Defense is still top in the DVOA. I'm not even going to go into that. Go look it up. It's on. You can Google it. It breaks down all the defensive stats, and they're still technically, listed as number one. Stat-wise. Then they have a Cleveland Browns team coming in, where they're going to next week to face. They defeated the Bengals last week. Bengals aren't that good. I believe they put up like 35 on them. So definitely going to have an interesting Washington football team breakdown. Probably do it again Friday. A little 15-minute show. Real quick, just breaking down the stats and the numbers between the teams. And then we'll do the pregame show on Sunday, 30 minutes before kickoff. And then we should have a postgame show. Also, Joseph, I appreciate you taking the time to break down the fantasy football and talk some football with us. I give you a parting shot since you're Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, did put some points up for me. I'll let you talk about your Steelers real quick before you get up out of here. We're great getting into some NHL talk.
The Steelers, I'll say that sometimes they scare me because they allow teams to hang around when they can put teams away. And Deontay Johnson is our third-round pick, which is his second year playing. Last week, he muffed a punt against the Giants, and the Giants got 3 out of that. The defense held that up. Then yesterday, on the first possession, he runs a reverse and fumbles that. So you go from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 18. So once he gets himself together, I think he'll be one of the great receivers of all time. I do believe that. But I'm waiting on Thanksgiving night, because in order to get to the top, you got to beat the top teams. So Thanksgiving night, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens come to town. So that's going to be the game that I'm really going to be looking forward to seeing.
I know that's right.
Go Ravens, but but that's but here nor there. But I had to represent, since I know I don't talk about them on a Washington football show very often. I do follow the Ravens pretty closely, and I root for them every Sunday as well. So it'll be a tough matchup for sure on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is gonna be a tough day for me. You got the Ravens, Steelers, and you've got the Washington football team playing in Dallas. It's going to be quite a day for sure, at least in my house.
Got to get my plate early and get back home, so I'm not interrupted by nobody.
Yeah, that's a rivalry day right there.
Yeah,
that's
like 3 or 4 plates, and you wrap them up, and you get out of there as soon as possible, so you get home and warm them back up, and just sit there and watch football all night.
Well, first time we're doing it at my parents' house too, so it'll be interesting. We'll have the whole family there. So Liz is cooking here, so at least it's only 30 minutes away. So there'll probably be a little bit of time between games. Probably when I'll make the move back home.
So are they all Raven fans?
They're all Washington football fans, Redskins fans, and so they've been they got me into them when I was a kid. I was born during a Redskins Cowboys game, so for sure.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That
rivalry it runs deep. It's gonna be weird not calling it Redskins Cowboys, right? So it's a strange time that we're living in. So
I'm just trying to figure. I just want to figure out. I mean, they say that they don't want a last name. They are enjoy winning, but I feel like they should just go ahead and give a team a last name. The Washington football team, it just sounds, it's just like an ordinary name. That's the Washington football team.
It's temporary. Everything's up in court right now. By next year, they have a new mascot.
Maybe the owner said that if people love the Washington football team name as it stood, he would be okay with it.
I mean, he couldn't keep it. And if he does, I won't be mad.
I won't be mad either. It's actually grown on me. I have to say, originally I was like, that's the stupidest idea. They have to have a name. It's grown on me. I like soccer, and it sounds like a soccer name. I know a lot of people don't like soccer that like, American football, but I like both. So for me, it's like, whatever. Like every team has a mascot, right? It kind of makes us unique in some ways. I'm not too hard pressed. I mean, my top pick, real quickly, is the Warriors. I think it would be the best. I think Washington Warriors alliteration could bring back some of the traditions. It would be the continuation of Boston Braves, Washington Redskins, Washington Warriors. It makes a lineage. I also like the Red Wolves and the Red Tails. Both of them are pretty fun.
The Red Wolves.
Yeah, I'll howl after a touchdown, right? Let's go for it. Like, whatever.
See, the Huskies would sound good, but that's a college name.
Right.
Well, the Red Wolves is actually a college name. That's why they're in court, trying to get the trademark rights as a school, I believe. I want to say out Utah, Colorado.
I think it's Arkansas State, maybe?
Yeah, it's a couple of different teams that have it. That's why it's in litigation. So it's not going to be Washington football team forever unless he decides to keep that. So with the trademark and all of that stuff, it might be better just to say Washington football, then he ain't got to worry about paying copyrights and trademarks and all that other stuff. So, I mean, honestly, I don't care. It makes no difference to me. I'm still going to watch my team play every Sunday and root for them to win. That's all it will come down to.
It is Arkansas State. I don't even know why I know things like that, but it was Arkansas State.
Yeah. Also, quick update on the Monday Night Football game. Saints are knocking on the door, trying to score. They're already up 3-0 on the Raiders. They're at the 2-yard line. Kamara just tried to get the edge and couldn't, and hit the cornerback so hard he slid under the camera thing, and he hasn't moved. So hopefully he's okay, but he looked like he might be hurt.
I got a couple other quick scoring updates for us. The Nats are up 3-1 over Philadelphia, and currently the bases are loaded for the Nats with 2 outs. So it's kind of a pressure situation there to see if Philly can keep it a 2-run game. We're at the bottom of the 6th. The first one was a ball, again, 2 outs. And then the power play for Tampa Bay with 9 minutes left in the first period against Dallas in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup, which is what we're going to be talking about next. But I just want to thank our special guest, and I enjoyed having you on talking some football with us.
Yes, Robbie, it was great. It was really, really great. I feel famous.
There you go.
Hey, man, that's why we do it. We do it because we love it. We trying to get to that mainstream platform so folks will be tuning to us for their sports news and entertainment because they know these other folks out here ain't know what they talking about. But as always, Joseph, appreciate it, man. We definitely going to have you back on. Might see if we can get you on every week if possible. Talk some fancy football before we go into our football segment. But you have a good night. We're about to get our hockey personality in here, and you take it easy, man.
All right, well, you guys be safe. God bless you guys.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Take it easy.
You too. Bye-bye.
Anna, I see you on already. How you doing tonight, Anna?
I'm doing good. I'm watching this Tampa Bay Stars game, and man, they're just out to kill, and I love it. It's a good hockey. Good hockey.
The next game in the football game, I haven't even had a chance to flip on hockey yet. So
I understand.
And I TV hooked up right now, so normally I do. I've been lazy. I haven't set up the third TV yet.
Oh no, I got the man cave's got. I got my phone. I got a laptop. I got computer number 2, which is occupying TV 1, and then I got 2 other TVs over there. So I got the full studio setup going.
I ran the extension cord. I got to get another
scored.
extension cord, man. I ran out of cords, man. I got to get another extension cord for that. My damn surge protector is already full, man, and I got to get another extension cord.
I missed that goal, so I'm rewinding it back to it now. I was watching the bases loaded 3-1 Nats game. Too much going on here in the man cave, but so Tampa Bay scored on the power play, I guess. So they got it around, and then they got into the middle, and I don't know if it was deflected, but that was the goal, sort of in the center part of their power play.
They're going to rally this game.
You think so?
I think so. I think the Stars, they had 4 or 5 days off. They came out. I thought Tampa Bay was going to come out, and it was going to be a little bit closer. When it's 4-1 in the Stanley Cup, I just feel like they're going to come back and really tighten it up. And I think a lot of it is going to come down to Vasilevsky. And like I've said before, I have these 2 favorite players. I like Coleman and oh my gosh, it's not Woodruff. Oh, I just totally drew a blank on his name. That's awesome. And I wrote it down, Goodruff. I think that they are going to be 2 players to watch out for. And I don't know, like I'm so torn because I love both goalies, but
yeah, I'm kind of torn in this series too.
Yeah.
Well, let's get in this series in a little bit. Let's talk really briefly. Rewind back to last Monday.
Absolutely.
And Dallas had one more game with Vegas. We didn't know it at the time that it would be their last game, but I kind of want to set the stage where we were while we were watching it. Dallas was losing, right? It wasn't, and they it looked like the Golden Knights were gonna potentially flip the series and maybe go on a run there. And what we were saying was they had not scored any goals yet. And what we talked about was when Dallas turns it on, it's like 3 goals just pop out of nowhere, right? So
exactly.
It's not like they score once or even twice. It's like boom, boom, boom.
Like, yep.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly how they came back. And so break that down for us. And
that, I mean, to me, unfortunately I didn't break down all the goals, but it was quite awesome for me to write that last Monday, that the Stars eliminated the Knights with a 4-1 series win and then a spot in the Stanley Cup. But you know what? I will say, God, they earned it. This is a team that came, I think a lot of people doubted in the beginning, didn't think they had the potential, thought they were, kind of, whatever kind of team. They came out, they played 60 minutes, they played tough. Their goalie's fantastic. The team just came together, and it wasn't all new players. You have your Bens, your Sagans, you have some guys there who it was just their time. And then you have an awesome, rookie guy who scores all these who scored the hat trick and everything else. So I just really feel like the Stars, they earned that spot. I felt like, unfortunately, the series with the Knights seemed more of a physical game than a skill game, if that makes sense. And I feel like the Islanders Lightning series was much more impressive.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Carol, do you have any thoughts on that series before we get into it?
Well, the Dallas
Night series.
That was Dallas. Just that's like I say, they're a good, solid squad that has their own style of play, and like you say, they put up goals quick when they do score, and they play solid defense. And I wasn't rooting for them. I wasn't rooting for the Vegas Golden Knights either, but the way they beat them 4-1, kind of convincingly. And then with the Islanders series, went to overtime. In Game 6, I was rooting for the Islanders and Barry Trotz, but unfortunately, Tampa was able to put it away. They're currently, like I said, they're up now. They're down in the series 1-0. So yeah, it was some good Stanley Cup hockey going up until the finals, and I haven't been paying as close as attention with football season starting, but definitely going to probably flip the game on in a little while once this Nats game is over.
Sounds good. All right. Well, the other side of the bracket was way more interesting, right? So I mean, I'm happy to just kind of move past that one, and we can talk about this incredible Islanders series with Tampa Bay. I really thought the Islanders had a chance to bring this all the way back, right? And they really played Tampa Bay much harder than expected, including some really exciting games that could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I think we have 2 games, right, that we need to break down on that one because, so do you want to go back and just really quickly break those 2 games down, and then we'll talk about the one game in this series that's happening?
Yes, and now that we can celebrate that the Knights are out.
Right.
And we know that the Stars are in. So on Tuesday, the Islanders came back in double overtime. And I think that, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the game. It was definitely a fantastic hockey. It was so exciting. I kind of was like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, who do I want to win? It's like, yes, there's the Barry Trotz side, but I've been kind of pulling for the Tampa Bay. So been a little bit torn here and there, but they did win 2-1 over Tampa. But then on Thursday, Tampa Bay sealed their place at the Stanley Cup, winning the series 4-2. And we just have to say, hats off to Barry Trotz for his coaching. And this was a fantastic series to watch. It was, I mean, I know I have my gripes with Clutterbuck, but bottom line, those players on the Islanders are no joke. They are skilled. I appreciate their efforts and everything, and it just made for such a fun series. So I really enjoyed it. When it goes into double overtime or overtime, that you have players that are going to give it 110%. They just want it so badly. So I think that's what we saw in this series versus the Night Star series.
And I mean, a lot of the games were very, very close.
Yeah.
I mean, Tampa Bay won one game with just a couple of moments left in the game. So, I mean, it could have gone either way for sure. And the double overtime game was super exciting.
Yeah.
I've been watching on this hockey channel where they do hockey together, where everyone jumps on kind of like this, but they have like 9 or 10 people on from all over the country, which is really kind of cool. And so you get to see perspectives of people that are fans of these teams. And they started off by just coming on when their team was on, but they've kind of stayed on and they've kind of joined up. And I've come on and represented the Capitals, Ron and Bernie Dahl. They've been on many times. They're on it almost every night. And so like I've sometimes have jumped on a couple times, and it's really a lot of fun. I see that Tampa Bay just scored again. So 5-8 left in the first. They're now up.
I have a delay.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're up 2-0. Well, sorry to spoil, but you can let me know what happened in it. It's been really fun to watch it with them, and I've actually grown to really kind of like the Islanders. I mean, I know they're a division rival and they have Trotz and whatever, but I know Carol was talking about how he liked them too, and it's just they became very likable, And I was almost sad when they scored. Oh, by the way, it's now 3-0. Our good friend Shattenkirk, I think, just scored that one.
Oh my goodness! I need to get a different cable network. Apparently.
Yeah,
I was like, "What's going on?"
Talk about teams that can have just when goals happen, they just pour out of them. So this time it's the other way with the Lightning, but
not surprised.
Yeah, so I think Shattenkirk from the point. I think it doesn't. Oh, I don't know if it gets deflected down and into the corner. Yeah, it's a long wrister. 2 people swipe at it, but no, I don't think anyone actually makes connection with it. So Shattenkirk may get that goal, and so yeah, 3-0 pretty quickly here. Not a good start for Dallas, but Tampa Bay obviously wants to try to tie this series up, especially with no real home ice advantage, even though they did lose on a game that they're supposed to have they have those slight advantages, right? We've talked about them. But, over the course of the entire playoffs, I haven't seen that really make any effect whatsoever, right? I think it's all been very neutral. Doesn't matter where they're playing. We've seen lots of teams win on the road.
And I think that these teams that played down in the last of the playoffs have just, shown everybody that, hey, this is the hand that we're dealt. This is the COVID thing, and we're going to do the best that we can. And hats off to the NHL for the bubble. I mean, we all thought it sounded so kind of ridiculous in the beginning, but no COVID. They were able to play. They did the best they could with the sound effects and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, you have athletes that just want to play to win, and they just want to win, whether it's Stanley Cup or whatever it is. And I think that that's just fantastic. So I've been impressed, and I think that I knew Tampa Bay was going to come back. I felt like they're not going to take that win, or the loss yesterday or 2 days ago from the Stars lightly. They were going to come out just like, this is it. And that's exactly what you need to do in the Stanley Cup. So why not?
I can't believe that they're able to do this well without Stamkos. Like, that's my big surprise.
Yeah.
And the last point I want to make is
was a report that he was supposed to possibly play game 2. I saw that on NHL Network. So if he's not playing this game, it looks like he will be back for the Stanley Cup Finals in some way, shape, or form.
I talked to some Lightning fans who don't believe that report is true. So I don't know. There's some questions. I don't. We'll see.
At this point, I mean, if they're doing hot, like if they win this game tonight, and he has a chance to come back, do you put him in, or do you go with what you've been doing since he's been out?
He's been out for so long. Yeah, don't risk it.
Keep him on the bench. Like if they get down, like it was game 7, and he's healthy. They say now he was possibly coming back for this. If they give it the rest of the series and it goes to game 7, and he can give you an extra boost, I say bring him in on like a game 7, but I wouldn't say just bring him in, right now with the team playing well. They are 3-0 now.
Yeah.
And give them some more days to, get well. And if they do need him, I say pull him out game 7 if necessary.
I think maybe that is probably the best option. That, or maybe not an elimination game, but farther along in the series, so something where they've maybe had 2 losses at that point, so if they lost this game, then maybe there's a conversation, because you don't want his first game to be the game where they get eliminated. I think you're going to try to.
Superstar. He's itching to get back on the ice. Pressure bursts pipes, but pressure also makes diamonds too, man.
Yeah. It could. And
but it could go the other way.
Right. It could, and then it could
the other way. But hey, he want to be out there. He wants to get his cup.
Well, I'm sure he wants to be out there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what it is. It's more of like, okay, your pride, your ego, you want to play, but what's going to be best for the team? And if they're on a roll right now, and like we've always said with goalies, like you got to go with your hot hand. So Stamkos has been, he's just a fantastic staple in, the team that he plays for. So he may have to just be like just a good force on the bench for a little bit, and we'll see what happens. But I think right now this Tampa Bay team has been impressive, and I think especially tonight they just wanted to come out and say, "Oh no, Stars, like we've got this."
But then if they lose and they had Stamkos at their disposal and didn't use him, that's what the coach going to have to answer that question also.
True. But they did make it this far without him. So we're, it's like you're just sort of, what do you do? Because he's such a fantastic, talented player. He's one that I always thought anytime the Capitals had to play them, he was always my number one to say, oh, God, watch out for this guy because he is just damn good.
So here is an interesting scenario. Right now, the Dallas Stars are about to go in the power play with 1 minute and 11 seconds left in the period. So Dallas trying to get themselves on the board. I believe it was a tripping call, maybe, or something like that. Maybe a hook or a trip. It's a stick penalty.
My TV's still on like the third goal, so.
Yeah. But maybe you rewound by accident. Do you have DVR? I don't know. Sometimes like that happens where like I'm paused for a moment. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. I'm excited to see Tampa Bay definitely put a puncher's, come back and really make this a series. And Braden Point was the one who scored that first power play goal for them. That was what's really important. They've been lacking at the power play, and that was the thing that they really needed from Stamkos. So if they can produce on the power play, I don't think they need Stamkos. But if they can't, which they were having trouble with that, and I think that that's a real person that you can add, to that, and maybe you can somehow juggle lines where you don't put him in all the time and you use 7D and then you have a couple extra forwards and you can slot a couple different people and you use him in certain situations where you come in and maybe he's just on the power play and a couple of other ones and you kind of wean him in that way where you're not putting him on like a top line or even it seems crazy to put Stamkos on a third line, but it's been a while since he's played, I think that wouldn't be
that might be a boost for the third line to get him out there, and you drop somebody from the third line to the fourth line. But it depends. Like I said, that's just reaching if he is healthy, but they're playing well. I think the coach might sit him out and stuff when it comes to a game 7, and he's been skating well. He's been practicing with the team off and on, during the days off or whatever.
Fresh legs.
And I say let him play, but it all comes down to the coach and the team. The coach is going to definitely, hopefully, get some input from the team also.
Yeah.
So, they're playing well tonight. Just see where it goes from there, and then maybe it won't even be a Stamkos question if they, get the momentum this game and keep on pushing.
Right. Dallas, speaking about momentum, though, is losing momentum quickly on this power play. They are falling short. There's now 14.2 seconds left in this first period, 1 minute and 3 left in the power play. And they didn't get a clean zone entry, so that's going to be just outside of the defensive zone for Tampa Bay. I like how he just upended a Tampa Bay player, just tripped the heck out of a guy behind the scenes during the face-off, and they just didn't call anything on that. So that's pretty hilarious. All right, 2-1, and that right there is the end of the first period. A little bit of chippiness, a little bit of them chirping at each other at the end of the period there. That's to be expected. The Stars need to try to get something going here in the second period for sure.
There hasn't been, the fights, and I think we saw more of that in the Knights, series, and and of course, I put that more on the Knights, but it's just this is one of those things that you appreciate when there's not a whole lot of sin bin minutes, and then it's just guys out there who just will kill for the Stanley Cup, but they're not going to drop the gloves and do something stupid. So I think that that's always appreciated for fans to see, and I think that I don't doubt that these guys are to come back. That Dallas will score in this second for sure, but I do think Tampa Bay is just out to say, hey, listen, we gave you, a couple of days ago, but we're going to take it tonight.
I think the physical guys or the physical teams that brought the physicality in the series were the two teams that went away, right? So I think the Islanders play physical and try to get into that. And so Tampa Bay played into that system, and then they sort of met. And the same thing happened in that Vegas-Dallas. I don't think Dallas is naturally the team to kind of rough it up, but because of Vegas's thing, they kind of had to. So it's not surprising that after dealing with those physical series, and they probably are banged and bruised beyond what we even know, that they probably think it's refreshing to just skate and go after the puck and play hockey. And they're probably not too upset.
in the Stanley Cup Finals, you normally don't see a lot of fights and stuff like that unless it's something that's, blatant that's happened that needs to be addressed. So, because they know how critical each power play
Yeah.
is, and taking a fight unnecessary penalty can cost your team and cost the cup. So you can't be selfish in that mindset. So I think that always plays a key into the Stanley Cup Finals, where you don't see a lot of fights. You don't see a lot of fights in the playoff, at least in the late rounds of the playoff. In the early rounds, you'll see some, get momentum and, try to swing the tide or whatever. But the later in the playoffs you get, the less likely you are to see fights unless it's something real blatant, a dirty play or a dirty hit, something like that. So
Unless you're Ryan Reeves.
they're all focused on the prize, and they're happy to be there and, want to get that Stanley Cup.
Right, and I think that also there's a lack of true rivalries once it's East versus West, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the earlier rounds, you've placed that team throughout the regular season, and now it's the pivotal playoff moment, and you're just trying to get to the cup. And I just think that you just see that physicality, beefed up. Not the penalty side of it, I agree, fighting is down, but even just sort of like the crazy heavy hits that you see in the earlier rounds. You still see hits in the finals, and they're still going for it. But I don't think they're quite as heavy and, taking chances. Because just like Carol, I mean, it's a great point. You don't want to take that penalty that costs your team the Stanley Cup, right?
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And that also shows like who are the players that are mature and who are the players that are not going to showboat, and who are the players that really are dedicated to their team and dedicated to winning the cup. And there's like a fine line there, because I still feel like there's a couple players that, would rather fight, drop the gloves than the latter. And it's like, oh, come on. So you're not quite there, Ryan Reeves. But that's okay, because I think that who we have in this series, they're tough. I mean, is it Killorn? He was out in the first minute of I don't know if you guys saw that, but I mean, he's kind of no joke. I mean, it's like pretty intense hit, and so it's there, but I think that they're going to show the maturity during the series, and I think Carol's spot on that. It's not worth the risk. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So real quickly, because I do want to get to a couple of Capitals questions, because I kind of build it on our thing that we would talk about some of that. This series, I mean, Dallas performed very well in the first game, but it was really their goaltender just played out of his mind. I thought Tampa Bay put a lot more shots on net.
Yeah,
should have broken through in that game, and they didn't. I think that Dallas may have the best goaltender, although I say that in the pregame, and that's in my mind, and I watch him give up 3 early on in this, but all of them are really wobbly, flickering pucks from the point, breaking through with lots of traffic, which is exactly what you got to do, but it's not all on that goalie for trying to stop that. He didn't see it. It was being deflected. Right. None of those 3 goals I thought in the first period were soft goals, but he'll obviously have to play better for them to come back. But I think over the course of a couple of games, it's hard to put a shutout or like a 1-goal game together in consecutive nights. It'll be interesting. Any final thoughts on game 1 and what you've seen here? And then I do want to talk about some Cap stuff.
I just think, are you asking me or Carol?
Yeah,
sorry.
you.
Okay. I think Khudobin, you got to love the guy. I mean, 35 saves. He's just fantastic. But you also have to take into consideration he's only 5'11". So that's, for a goalie and for certain
barely taller than me.
Certain hockey players, it's like, he doesn't have that height that's, going to take up the entire, post and stuff like that. So I just admire his spirit, and I think the team backs him up, and I think he just has a good vibe and appreciates, everything. Everything about so now I'm distracted because I was like, there's a dog.
I know. Well, she wanted to be in the frame, so
sweetheart.
Yeah.
But I feel like you have 2 goalies that you just can't, not acknowledge and not respect, and know that Tampa Bay and the Stars are going to give it 100%, and their goalies are to just be admired, respected, and cheered on. And I don't know. I just think, but there's something about Khadobin. I just have a soft spot for the guy.
Yeah, I think I could
like
easily
that.
root for either of these teams. I have friends that like both of them, both people back in Texas.
Right.
I have a friend that's a diehard Tampa Bay fan, somebody that was really nice and rooted for the Caps, when they were eliminated by them in 2018, which I thought was really classy. So I kind of feel like I owe him one,
Right.
and so shout out to Pat for that. But it's it's tough. I wouldn't be upset either way, and I'm just excited for a fun series. And I think that's kind of a really cool way to look at it. I don't know how billable it is outside of the diehard hockey fans. I don't know if people are tuning into NFL and these crazy NBA conference finals.
Right.
Hockey's always kind of fourth, and so that's a little bit tough. I thought, they're going to get the cup before the NBA finals. Maybe they could draw extra ratings somehow that way, but the Western Conference NBA playoffs might be higher rating than the Cup Finals, which I understand, but I've enjoyed it at least, and so
I have too. And like I said, I have it on now, and I'm excited to come back and talk to others that appreciate it, regardless of who else is watching.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so the two big news stories that we started at the very beginning of the show, and we'll use it to kind of round out the entire show here. Obviously, Peter Laviolette is the coach for the Capitals. He signed a multi-year deal. I haven't gotten the final terms, I don't believe. At least I didn't have them on my original document. But I'm happy with a multi-year deal. Even if it's a little bit more expensive. I think the rumor was 4 years, $4 million. I'm not sure if that's exactly where they landed. And I'm okay with that. It's halfway between what the crazy high Trotz 5-year $5 million and a low $3 million, but you're gonna have to pay for experience. We talked about his stats at the very beginning of the show, 3 cups and second winningest U.S. born coach and all that. He picked the guy that I wanted from the beginning, so I'm excited. I just thought, I know that you didn't have a dog in the fight, initially. Do you have any reaction to finding out about it?
Well, actually, after we did that show, I did like my own little, sports research moment.
Homework.
Because I knew that, I was trying to find some redeeming qualities in Babcock, and I just didn't really feel like he was going to be a good addition to the team. So he was not one that I felt. But when it came to Lavi, I was like, there's just something about this guy from the beginning. Gil has always said, this would be a good one. I think we all kind of felt like he had a good, record. I wanted to see more. And I actually, just by chance, had a chance to see him being interviewed on some NBC or whatever local station recently, and a woman was just asking him questions like, what's your favorite this, favorite that, whatever kind of thing. And every answer he gave was so genuine and so relatable. And his story about talking to Alex Ovechkin and how he was almost starstruck to be coaching someone like an Ovechkin really just made me think, okay, I feel really good about this guy. I feel, obviously on camera and whatever, he's going to say all the right things, but it wasn't forced. It was very personable. He talked about his family and everything else. But I do think that the clips that you see of him in the locker room where he's a bit of a hard ass, we haven't seen that obviously with Todd in those 2 years. I think it's going to be refreshing for everybody. And I think
we have a hard ass coach from the Predators, right? That worked the last time, and maybe roll the dice and have it work again, right?
And why not? Yeah.
Both were successful previously. Yeah. Both came in to a hungry situation where they've kind of been knocked down and want to prove themselves. Maybe one last big time. He's been in the league a long time. Who knows how many more chances he'll have, right? So he's got to come in with that fire in his belly, which I think is important. Yeah. Where it's hard when you're Todd Reirden, you just want it, as an assistant, but it's a little bit different. But I'm just excited. I heard a lot of interviews with them. They do a great job doing these Zoom ones with the GM and him taking questions. That was a wonderful 27-minute thing. I think I shared it to the Power Play podcast page. Yeah. And so that was really great. I highly encourage people to check it out. Also, he was on Elliot in the Morning this past week, and that's on their YouTube channel. I've been a big Elliot fan since they started.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, because I love that he loves hockey and he loves the Capitals, and he's got to deal with Ted Leonsis, and like he got a ring. I mean, Ted Leonsis gave him a ring.
Well deserved.
And so I'm happy he did. And it was a great interview. I didn't get to hear it live. It was at 7:30 in the morning. I went back and listened to it on YouTube later. Fantastic interview. Said all the right things. Love that he flew the Capitals flag on a beautiful day. And so he's done all the things right. Obviously, we're a weekend. We don't know. He said he's going to take his time with his coaching staff picks. He's going to interview everybody that's still on the staff. He's going to talk to them. He's going to interview people he's worked with in the past. He's going to try to come to a consensus and figure out what is the best team to move forward with. And I think that's a great way. Don't say axe everyone that was before. Don't say it's only my staff or bust. Have conversations, talk to the players, see what they are interested in and what type of coaches would be useful for them. That's the way you're going to have to play it, I think, especially if you want to turn this around and try to, in my mind, they've got another 2-year window with this guy, right? And let's try to win it in these next 2 years. And then maybe they can win it again if they did, so
fantastic.
That would be fantastic. So the other thing is a little bit sadder news. John Carlson for Norris. We were trying to champion that all season. Roman Josi deserves it. Talking about Predators,
you can't take it away from him. I mean, truly.
He had an incredible second half of the season. I know that everyone remembers what John Carlson did in the first half of the year, but the reality is due to injury and lots of other reasons, he came off a little bit, and he just didn't play that same level throughout the season. And what they tend to do with these awards is they give it to somebody who may have come on stronger in the second half of the season, in the time where the games matter a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate, right? Because he got second place. And kudos to him, because I know second place doesn't get you a trophy, right? But it's still one of the best performances by a Washington defensive player in the last 25 years. And it should be noted as such. But it just still fell short and wasn't the number one in the league. But being the second best in the league is still incredible. Because remember, he signed that huge contract just a couple of years ago that people were like, is he going to live up to it? Well, this is him living up to it. I know that we didn't end up performing. Carol, I want to get your quick thoughts on it, but then I want to get Anna's thoughts on it too.
I actually wrote an article early in the season when he was playing very well, thinking that he would be able to win the Norris, which I felt like, he should at least been mentioned in the conversation, which he was this year. He should have been last year, and especially on the Cup run season. But, like you mentioned, his play did fall off towards the end of the season. We saw where the Capitals ended up, and I'm not really upset that he didn't get it, but it gives him something to build off of. I've always said I love that he's a homegrown talent, that we drafted him, that, he developed. He got his big contract. He got his ring, junior world champion, all of that good stuff. So, it's another step in the maturation of him and him being a top defensive player. The fact that he was even mentioned in the category, legitimately and not just in passing, shows that his game is growing and he still has room to grow and room to improve, and one day he will win that Norris.
Yeah, for sure. Anna, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Carol on that one. I do feel like he's definitely going to be a contender in the future. He is not a player that I have any regrets saying, why in the world did we ever sign this guy? I don't have any regrets. I think that he proved himself that first half. Not to get on a personal level, but his wife did become pregnant, and there were some other things going on that could have had him a little bit distracted the second half, along with the coaching, along with the injuries, along with the whole,
COVID and everything.
Who is he best matched with? And then we have COVID. So it's like there's a whole, ridiculous kind of melting pot of reasons to say John Carlson, like what happened. I think that we will see him being nominated again. I don't think that he's a player that we're not going to see excel coming out next season. And I do think under this coaching I think that it's going to hold him to a higher standard, and we're going to really see him, come out and say, okay, yeah, this is it. This is John Carlson, and this is him consistently through this season, not just that first half.
Right, and one thing that I'd be very excited about seeing is his maturation on the defensive side. I thought his points per game and stuff like that were great early on, and that's why everyone was talking about him, because for some reason it's an offensive-defensive award in people's mind, right? I think it should be best all around, and I think that that's actually what it says, but that's not what they seem to vote on, right? But this year, I think the winner had a bit of both, right? So I think if John Carlson wants to win next year, I think if his defensive game, because now he played the most minutes on our team, so he's going to have potentially the most turnovers, right? So I understand that fundamentally, but if he could cut that back and still, have a lot of assists, maybe not even have as many goals, but really be a stop-down defensive player and have, let's say, 2/3 the points, right? I think then you have such an argument there that. And if it leads us to wins, right? If it were, instead of at the tail end of the season barely holding on, we ended up winning the division, by de facto, but like, if we're running away with the division because he defensively is becoming a shutdown defender in addition to scoring some points, then it's really hard to, ignore him in the conversation.
Absolutely. So I think like the 75-point thing needs to just be like low end of the totem pole, and let's see all the other factors to make him, the number one contender. Yeah. I agree.
So he still has plenty of time to get that. He's only not even barely 30, if that. So I mean, his play did tail off, but he was playing solid defensively. He plays 200-foot game. He does a lot of back checking, does a lot of forward checking, and he does play the power play, and he does play, not top tier, defense, but I can't really say that he hasn't, stepped his defensive game up and have improved. I mean, does he still have room to grow? Definitely, everybody does. But I feel like his defensive play, in each zone, neutral zone, offensive and defensive, is, one of the top in the league. Unfortunately, like you say, his performance tailed off towards the end of the season. And, like I said, I'm not really mad that he didn't get it, but, he still has something to shoot for.
Right. And so some Caps fans who just saw his stats in the first part of the season and heard all the talk saying that it's like a travesty right now. I already saw some boards are blowing up being like, he got robbed. I was like, I mean, my issue, and I love Caps fans. I'm a diehard Caps fan. We'll start that. But sometimes some fans just look at their team and don't necessarily look at all the other teams in the league.
Right.
And just because you didn't win, you got robbed, maybe somebody outplayed you. And,
I call it the Sidney Crosby syndrome.
Right. Yes. Very true. And, that happens with so many teams and so many fan bases. So it's not something that's unique to Washington. I hear about Rangers fans doing it all the time, and plenty of other ones too. And it's sad, right? Because I understand that you have got rose-colored glasses. I love the Washington Capitals. There's Washington Capitals stuff currently all over my room, right? So, I get that, but I also saw highlights from other games, and I agree with you, Carol. He played defensively at times great. Yeah. And he was put into a lot of situations that maybe he shouldn't have been, with some of the pairings and some of the time on the ice and what he was expected to do, especially because we don't have an Orpik and a Niskanen and some of these other players that were in that 2018 run. So he's got to be that veteran leader. And you were dead on, by the way. He is 30 years old. Yeah. So he has time for sure. Hockey's a different sport than other ones. You could play till you're 35, even if you're maybe 40. But defensive players, they can lose a step, so they tend not to play quite as long into their. It depends on who you are, though. Some play forever, like Chara. But if you're
I was going to say Chara,
7 feet tall, you have an advantage. So
Chara, Thornton, Marlowe.
Right. There are definitely some of those gray beard people, but they've got to have such great technique to try to counteract some of that speed that comes from the forwards from the other side. But for the most part, I hope that he's the next Orpik for us and he plays till he's 40 something. that would be great,
Amazing.
especially because we drafted him and he did great things with the Hershey Bears and all the way through. And he's a great player. I mean, and he's great at interviews. I love him on the radio, and he's always solid and he's always very honest. And I think he's a great ambassador for the sport and for the Washington Capitals. So there's no knock on him. Sometimes you get beat just barely for an award, and that's just what happens. And so I think that's an important thing to take into consideration. Sometimes people are quick to being like, he got robbed.
Well, of course, and then when you look at who the player is and what team they come from, it's like, whoa, and then it's a bigger deal than it needs to be. And it's like sometimes it just comes down to statistics, and you have to look at the whole season up until COVID. And Carlson wasn't so great those January, February times. So what can you do? But second place for us is
the best we've finished in a very long time. I don't think anyone's finished this high since Mike Green probably in voting. I can't think of another one that would have been up there for Norris Trophy. So Tampa Bay's on the power play again. Their first one, so Dallas's power play lapsed. Now Tampa Bay is back. They're 2 for 3 with 5 shots. So let's see if they can get another one here. So again, it's 3-0 just in the beginning of the second period. I did want to mention that the Nats are up 5-1 over the Phillies now, and they've got somebody on second base with 1 out now in the bottom of the 7th in that matchup. But I'm very excited for this series. I mean, it's going to be very close. I mean, Anna, I'll let you get the first crack at your thoughts on how the series is going to go. Next, if it goes to a game 6, game 6 would also be next week. If they end in less than 6, I believe, then we'll talk about the. Well, no, I think we'll bring you on to recap that. I wouldn't cut your cup run short like that. Oh
boy, it's like I'm so torn because in the beginning I was absolutely about the Stars, thought they earned it, whatever. But then there's some players in Tampa Bay that I just respect, and I don't know, maybe it may just come down to the goalie, and I may just have to pull for the Stars.
Okay, and
I don't know. There's something in this Killorn, I think, is getting on my nerves. So.
Right. So you're pulling for the Stars, but who do you think is going to win? Because I think those are 2 separate things.
You know what? I think originally I did think Tampa Bay, but I think after seeing yesterday's game, the Stars came out strong. Tampa Bay is coming out strong right now. God, I don't know.
It's tough, right?
It is. I mean, it's a good thing I'm not betting because apparently my NFL pick sucked too this week. Thanks, Washington.
Oh, no. Wait, are you picking players or are you picking just win-loss?
Teams. But then, of course, it's like I went for the Niners. The Niners won against the Jets, which is fantastic. But then 3 of my players were taken off.
Oh, no. I have to say I was perfect on Sunday in my pick'em. So it's the first time in a long time that's happened. So I'll take that. But yeah, it's a tough one.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Stars.
Okay, so you're rooting for and you think they're going to win. All right, Carol, you're next. Who are you rooting for and who do you think is going to win?
Rooting for Tampa, and I think Tampa's going to win.
Okay.
With them coming out this way.
Go, Carol.
Hopefully they get back together and can continue to do that. We saw them put up 8 goals in 2 series back to back. They just got to get things going. Dallas is a funny team to play against. Like I said, they have a methodical pace. They're physical. They have offensive skill, and they play solid defense. So you have to figure that out. And I'm thinking they figured it out this game, and they can build off of it, continue doing what they're doing in game 2. And I think they'll get the momentum and be able to take it home.
All right.
To answer my own question, I am pulling for the Stars, but just barely. I really want to, for Pat, pull for Tampa Bay, but I don't know. There's something about this Stars team that I've really liked. So I'm pulling for the Stars, but I think Tampa Bay is going to win. So I'm going to split what you guys did, right? So I'm not pulling for the team that I think is going to win, but I'm not going to be upset about it. So because I want Pat, so I'm kind of helping Pat out by rooting for the other team just in case I'm a jinx.
There
So
you go.
I'm rooting for the Stars, but I think Tampa Bay is going to win.
Yeah.
So, but I could go either way, and I think the result could go either way. So I think it's a fun series. And next week we'll definitely break it down more. The rest of those games up until that point, and then I'll let people know the times of the series, just so if they want to follow along and join us in watching Cup action. By the way, Dallas then got on the power play. I don't see how that happened, but they've only 45 seconds left of it, so it's clearly not going well for them on that. And as I'm pulling up the upcoming schedule, and I have it right here. So the next game is on Wednesday. All the games are at 8 o'clock, so I can just avoid the time, right? So 8 o'clock. Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Monday. So it's an interesting idea that they had. They wanted to avoid the NFL playoffs, which was are the NFL games. And so like that was very smart of them, right? And they wanted to also not play during too many NBA games too. So they were thought they do Wednesday and Friday. They missed Thursday night football. And then, but they're doing Friday, Saturday. So they're doing back-to-back games, which is really interesting. So that's games 4 and 5 are back-to-back. At least they don't have to travel, right? So, true. And they always had played back-to-back at some point in every series up until now. Now, usually that never happens in the Cup final, but usually you didn't, like every series have that as a situation. So that's really interesting. And then they skip Sunday, which is smart, so they don't have to compete with the NFL again. And then Monday at 8 o'clock, just like tonight, would be a game 6 if it happens.
So it goes up against Monday Night Football, though.
Goes up against Monday Night Football, but they couldn't. I don't think they could avoid both of them. So and they're doing them against Monday Night Football right now. So I think that's probably. And then Wednesday would be the game 7 next week. So we'll either be talking about a game 6 going on, right? Or we'll recap a 5-game series next week.
Everyone's going to be saying, "What were you thinking, Anna, with the Stars?" But
So exactly. So it'll be interesting for sure. But any final thoughts or anything, final notes that you want to give us before we let you go?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me on. Hoping to have a better NFL week in my football pool. My numbers just, I took a big risk this week and was like, oh, Washington looked great. And
a lot of people did. You're not alone.
Yeah. So, that's what happens. It's all good. It's against my brother-in-laws and like 18 other people. So I'm like, whatever. But no, like I said, I'm excited about this series. Glad to talk to you guys, and I will hopefully talk to you next week with going into game 6 or playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm pulling for. I regardless who wins it, I wanted to at least go 6. So we're talking about a game that's potentially a clincher or pushing for a game 7. I think that'd be really fun and exciting. So I'm pulling.
Awesome.
I'm pulling for game 6 more than I'm pulling for either of the teams. I guess ultimately for myself.
Agreed.
So.
Agreed.
But thank you, Anna.
It was great to see you guys, and I will definitely talk to you all very, very soon.
Sounds good. Awesome.
All right, bye.
All right, awesome. Wow, what a full show. About 2.5 hours. We started a couple minutes late, so but just crazy night. But it's been fun. I'm happy the Nats are up. I'm happy that this game is exciting. I'm happy that they've got it to the Cup Finals, the NBA Conference Finals with no issues, and even this NFL season seems to be off without a hitch so far. 2 weeks in, I haven't heard of any reports yet. Baseball's kind of figured it out, we're 9 weeks into sports, Carol. 9 weeks back. It's crazy how fast that's gone.
Man, you tell me I'm doing 2-3 shows a week, so I already understand, brother. I did. 2 yesterday, 1 today, 1 tomorrow, another one probably later on in the week. Who knows? But yeah, man, it's good to have sports back. I'm watching the Saints Raiders game. Saints are up 17-7. Currently on defense. Vegas has the ball. Derek Carr's in the center. He has a touchdown throw last series. The Saints came back and put 3 on the board to put it back to a 10-point lead. And They Derek Carr just completed the pass for a first down on a 3rd and 10, looking to get some more points on the board to bring the Raiders a little bit closer. Like Robbie mentioned, Nats are up 5-1, looking like hopefully things are under control in the 7th inning. And it's just good to be back, man. Good to some of the stuff we got in the works. Good, we got some new people on. Had Joseph calling, zooming in with the fantasy football and picked up with some football coverage. We just growing, expanding, doing good things, man. You know, got the Julie Donaldson interview tomorrow. We haven't got the confirmation on time yet, but hopefully we'll be getting that soon. And I'll be free out of Facebook jail at about midnight tonight. So tomorrow I'll be posting about it and getting everything ready to rock and roll with that an exclusive one-on-one interview. We trying to do some things in the DC sports media, let folks know we ain't playing. So I'll be coming fresh out of Facebook jail with an exclusive interview tomorrow night. So unless things change, I'll keep you guys posted. But as of right now, everything should be good to go once I get the confirmation of time and everything. But should be good to go for tomorrow night. Make sure you check out the website, sportsothp.com. As I mentioned earlier, got the Sports OTHP apparel gear, got the District of Champions gear. Click on the link for the District of Champions gear. You can order it. See Robbie got the pillow. Hit me up, inbox me, hit my page for the Sports OTHP apparel shirts that I paired up with Eric Kusa. Shout out to my man Aside, doing some nice things. Fall line coming soon. Hoodies, sweatshirts, hats, all that good stuff. Got some things in the works. So just stay tuned. Got so much more to come. DC Sports without the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. And I'm out.